morning. Welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 15th day of January 2024. So had a kind of crazy weekend again out there. Today it's about it's below zero here, excuse me, in Michigan, which presents itself with all kinds of problems. But you know what? Michiganders, we're tough, we're mutts. And so it's just kind of like a kind of a quasi-normal thing for us. It's a little cold, but everybody out there, keep yourself safe, slow down, don't drive normal speeds, and then you won't have to sit in a ditch praying to God that one of us with a diesel truck comes along to pull you out. So today we're going to have a roundtable discussion with cybersecurity and election experts, Jeff Buongiorno, Todd Buffington, Jason Ickes, and Josh Merritt. And I want to get right to the issue here, because each one of these gentlemen have worked very hard in election integrity, in collecting data and interpreting data, and being able to talk about the horrific anomalies and crimes that have been committed in our elections. I believe it's fraud, and I think that that's pretty easy to prove. So I'm going to welcome everybody in. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Morning. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'd like to go around the room here and have you all introduce yourself a little bit, because I can go through and read your bios, but I would rather have you control that. So if you'd like to start, Jeff.
Sure. I'm Jeff Buongiorno. I'm a congressional candidate for Florida CD 21. I ran in the last cycle, and I got involved with election integrity. I'm going to say about November 4th, 2020, maybe November 3rd at 11:58 a.m. I knew something was wrong, and I've dedicated a lot of time and resources and talent. I'm an IT guy. I own a Microsoft consultancy since the late 90s. And we've basically unpeeled the onion here, and we're going to talk about some of the findings. Just quick note, Josh and I this is the third time we're making a presentation on the state of our infrastructure as it relates to our elections. So this is the third go around, and we're going to connect the dots somewhat today. And that's what I want to talk about. And thanks for having me on. I'm in sunny South Florida, where it's -7 degrees below 80.
Sounds a lot better than zero up here. So, Todd?
Hi, Donna. Thanks for having us on. So I have a degree in business, an MBA in finance and economics. So I've been working with numbers a long time, moved to Florida not too long ago. From up north, so I sympathize with your winter weather right now. But I'm familiar with spreadsheets, kind of a numbers guy. I saw what happened during the 2020 election and knew something was greatly amiss. So I started getting my hands on what I could. Started out looking at Pennsylvania data, saw a lot of suspicions there. The larger counties had repeating percentages in what they reported, like almost the same exact percentages and many batches, which seemed very suspicious to me. And then we'll go on to show you what we found in the national data for several states.
Wonderful.
Almost all states.
Josh?
Yes, I'm Josh Merritt. I've been working on cybersecurity research for about 6 years now. Normally I do mostly research on foreign hacker groups and cybersecurity related analysis. I spent 10 years in the Army with 2 combat deployments prior to working in computer systems. And before that, I was a CAD designer. I also worked, I was on Mike Lindell's Red Team doing packet capture analysis back in 2021. And since then have been working on source code analysis and assisting where I can to help bring about more citizens to be able to work on help being a watchful eye within the election system to make sure we never have a repeat of 2020 ever again.
Yeah, well, that's needs to be, I think, one of our focuses besides election integrity. What does that mean to people? Well, to me, we've had crimes committed in 2020 and 2022, and when there are crimes that are committed which are to the level of a national security breach. We cannot just continue to ram forward into these elections and look over the laws that were broken and the president. We have to write the 2020 election in 2022, or nothing's going to matter after this point at all, because they're going to do it again. So I applaud you guys. Just really applaud you guys.
That's a great point. It happened again already. So the title that we were using for this series of roundtables was "We Won't Get Fooled Again." We were fooled. What's that saying? Well, first time, shame you. Second time, shame me. And now we're going on the third time. And if it happens the third time, we lost the country. So we're here. We're trying to get civic engagement. One of the things is it's the Overton window has slanted so far to the left that the people are accepting vote by mail ballots on a mass level. They're accepting election season instead of election day, and they're accepting the centralization of the vote tabulation. Now, these are all pandemic processes and laws that were changed, and now they're enshrining it in our election systems. And the politicians, the mainstream media, social media, they've just moved this whole thing towards so far into the favor of fraud and the threats that persist. We need to implement zero tolerance, zero trust tolerance, and it cannot be that way. And it's going to be very difficult to unpeel the Overton window, which has switched so far towards towards fraud, towards the drop boxes, ballot harvesting, you name it. So we don't want to bicker with each other. I think that we've seen a lot of infighting. It's a very fragmented movement, and I applaud everyone in it. And I put together a little deck of slides to present. And what really the goal of today is, not to sit and bemoan that we're in this position, but let's find a way out, and also to uncover what we recently discovered, and this has to do with what's called a top-level domain registrar. Now, people who have businesses are most definitely familiar with this. When you have to buy a domain name, you have to register, mybusiness.com, Brandenburg newsnetwork.com, and you go to a registrar on the internet, such as GoDaddy or Network Solutions, or two of the big ones. Cloudflare is another one, and this is where everything begins in your cyber infrastructure. There's a reason why they call it a top-level domain. And Josh and I, we've been researching things together. Over the weekend, we researched Florida and their top-level domain registrars. We wanted to see what was going on. I noticed that some of the counties, there's 67 counties in Florida, and each voting jurisdiction has their own domain. So there's 67 domains. So we went through all of them, and we noticed that some ended in .com and some ended in .gov. And that brought our attention to the registrar. It's called a whois search. Anyone can do a whois search on the internet. It tells you who owns the domain, who the registrar is, and some good information on that domain, dates, when it was first registered, stuff like that. And there's way deeper tools and more technical to use. We're not going to really go into that. I want to keep this light so the people understand this, and they can take this information. Most importantly, in Tallahassee, we have a state legislation is in session, and we want to bring some of this news to their attention, and move that Overton window back to where we were before the pandemic, right? Where we had single day voting, where there were no drop boxes, and you had to request an absentee ballot. And I believe, and my mission here is to put together information that is repeatable for the people, whether it's Florida. Right now, the focus is Florida because the legislation is in session this week. But we want to deliver this in pieces that the people can understand and they can relate to their state and local representatives. So Josh, if you could start with slide 2, can you get that up for me, please?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is a GAO. It's called the Government Accountability Office, and that's kind of like you say that tongue in cheek. That's like saying I'll have a large shrimp. Give me a large shrimp. Government Accountability Office. What do they really do? They run cover, it seems. So we have an article from January 2022, and this was pertaining to in response. It's always in response, right? We're never ahead of the threats. We're always responding to them. And what I'm offering here is a proactive approach. As a network professional, as an IT professional, we look at security, and we take a zero trust tolerance approach. And this is where we need to be with our elections. And we're not even close. As you can see in this article, there are over 900 known threats, as reported by CISA, which is part of Department of Homeland Security. It stands for Cyber Intelligence Security Administration. It's along those lines. CISA, and they deal with cyber security, cyber intelligence, and cyber threats, and it's part of Homeland Security. And of course, this was something that Homeland came about after 9/11, when the Patriot Act was passed, and everything.
Of course,
everything was our rights were stripped. So now we have this big, huge agency, CISA, that's supposedly overlooking all of our governmental data, websites, portals. Anywhere where there could be a breach, and they're, like anything in big government, they really don't do it so well, and they're not even close. We can't trust them. We can't trust CISA. Josh, can you go to the? So basically, before we leave this article, they're admitting there's over 900 known. Now the unknown is the unknown. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. There's thousands. They arise every day. So we have this behemoth agency who has been weaponized. Okay, I think 85% of us can agree that we're seeing federal agencies such as the FBI, the DOJ. Department of Homeland Security itself, right? CBP is part of the Customs and Border Patrol, which is running a travel agency at our southern border. They're part of Department of Homeland Security, and so is CISA. And CISA's security is about as porous as the border. Okay, that's how bad it is. And they themselves, the Government Accountability Office, put this in writing. And here's the article. So let's go to the next slide. We talk about solar winds. So that's something key here. I want everyone just to make a side note of solar winds and a breach, a hack, a breach. Colloquial, the software of solar winds, which all Fortune 500 companies use to manage their network. So it's almost as if it's a big web. Once you get into solar winds, you can get into the entire 85% of the Fortune 500 companies. So this is like an overarching umbrella of management that through one breach can impact 85% of Fortune 500 companies. And that's what happened. And not only it's solar winds is even more prevalent in government. So there's even more risk than we have just in private sector. So
that centralization process is a real problem, and we're seeing that centralization of power all over the place, such as it's a big problem.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. When it, that's one of the things that with zero trust tolerance in our elections is to decentralize the vote count. Arizona just ran an election, 2,500 ballots with at least 12 different, I'm not going to say races because about 10 of them were ballot initiatives, but still it's the same thing. It's yes or no instead of having 3 or 4 boxes of candidates. So same thing, 12 races, we'll call them 12 races, 2,500 ballots counted in 13 man hours and in 1 hour. So they had 13 people. They had the results in 1 hour. Stephen Riescher and these guys in Maricopa County. Now this is Maricopa County. It would have taken them a month to figure out how to fix it, how to cheat and then report the results a month later. This was done in 1 hour. Okay. We had an election in Taiwan over the weekend. Same way. Results were promptly reported. It's really good for the national populist movement what happened in Taiwan because the party that the CCP didn't want to win won. So they had they had hand counts, they had decentralized vote count. We saw the same thing in Argentina and in the Netherlands, and they were all. Here's the commonality. It was a one-day election. It was paper ballots. It was decentralized vote counting. And you know what? Today in the news, there's no protests, right? It seems like we could draw a correlation to centralized vote counting and technology. Whenever we have an overreaching theme of centralization of large government being involved in the power being taken away from the people, what happens? We all know when Bolsonaro had the election stolen, the Brazilians were in the streets for days and weeks, millions of them protesting, right?
Right.
So there's a commonality there. They used a lot of technology. They had decentralized vote count. There was no paper. It was all images. What happened? Millions of people got pissed off and protested. What happened on January 6th in our own country? We had, we had peaceful protesters at the Capitol, millions of them. So there's a commonality there. And this is one point that you speak to the legislators, to your neighbors. Look at what happened. Well, it just seems odd. What do these protests have in common? Technology and centralized vote counts. And that's what we need to get away from. Back to restore the way, go back to pre-pandemic levels. So
we'll go back to the Constitution. The Constitution lays out exactly how our elections are supposed to work. And they pretty well failed on so many points, getting away from the highest law in the land. It's shocking. Yeah,
I agree. Josh, want to go to the 4? Next one? In the next one, this is just something, that what we need to band together and get done. And I believe ultimately the first thing that is of paramount importance is lawfare. And I have some legal theories. I don't want to go into them now, but I believe they have they could grow legs. Now, lobbying and educating, and that's a terrible slide. It's not spaced out properly. But those are 3 things I really think we need to get together and join together with. We have these disparate movements. And I really think we need to get loud. As Maxine Waters says, get in their faces. And, she was right. She said that, I don't know, maybe it was 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And look where we've gone. They got in their faces and they're winning. So these people are our servants. Our state legislators, we don't have to put them on a pedestal. We can, we could be respectful. But at the end of the day, they work for us. And I think that we need to have a consistent messaging. And one of the projects that we're working on is putting together 2-minute and 30-second videos with audio that could be used at public comment when we have town council meetings. We have our county council meetings, whenever we meet with a politician. So we can get this out. So we have a consistent message to people that are concerned. And they could just hit play, and it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. which gives them another 30 seconds to comment. And that's, in Florida, at least, that's public comment, 3 minutes. And, we know that it works. We've done it, people. We've done it in the school boards. We got rid of Kevin McCarthy. We can do this. I know there's not a lot of time, but we can reverse the Overton window, and we can get back to fair and free elections. So if you want to just, I want to get down to, just understanding first of zero tolerance. So let's go to slide 7. And, zero tolerance, there is no trust. That's exactly what it means. Zero trust tolerance. You look at every angle, every aspect of risk, right? Some people know what a SWOT analysis is. What's the strengths? What's the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? And what are the threats? SWOT, S-W-O-T, right? People in business do that all the time. So we have to analyze with a key focus on the T and the threats. And I want to get into now the crux of CISA, and we're gonna go down to slide 16. So CISA is what's called is a registrar for top level domains. And what does that mean? So I'm going to ask Josh to jump in and just give me 30 seconds on what's domain name registrant on top level domains and what do they control?
So whenever you go on the internet, every website that you go to, there's what's called a domain name registry, a domain name server, and that sort of acts like a phone book. And the phone number for the website is the IP address. So when I type in ssa.gov, it is going to look for the phone number or the IP address, and that DNS server is there to provide that registry. So CISA, they have become in charge of all of the government domain naming and domain systems to ensure security, because even now you've got DNS vulnerabilities where bad actors can just take over your domain name service and redirect you to a site that's not that legitimate site. So now they've put CISA in charge of making sure that when you want to go to a specific site, that you're going to that actual website and that it is what it's supposed to be. And that's what they've sort of taken over doing now.
Yeah, but so there's more. There's more. When what they do, they resolve addresses, IP addresses, which is a series of numbers to a name, right? To a URL like Brandenburg News Network, and in a network infrastructure, you have like your email as an example. There's a special record. It's called an MX record. I don't want to get too technical, but it's it's very specific record, an MX record, and that controls your email, how your email routes. And one of the things that probably all of the audience has experienced is what's called multi-factor authentication. And what happens is you sign in and an email is triggered to your email address. You're signing into a sensitive portal such as your banking or maybe some of your anything else, your investments. And you don't just log right in. You'll get a verification email. And that email address is basically verifying your identity. So it's very simple if you're in control of the MX record, the first thing that you could do is spin up another exchange, Microsoft Exchange, which is the backbone to probably 80% of the worldwide email. You could just set a new record. You could have a little Exchange server running in your environment, almost like Hillary did in her basement, right? They work well in damp areas, so Don't try that at home. Only Hillary can pull that off. Anyone could do it, right? And you could get an authentication email and you could access information. Now, this is very remedial, but I'm pointing out the threats of one agency having access to all of our .gov domains, specifically related to elections. In the first two series that we presented on this crisis of our national election infrastructure, we pointed out where the breaches took place and how they took place. And, we don't know exactly where they came from, but all of the evidence that we have to date, it makes it more plausible to know that someone was manipulating DNS entries. I'll give you an example, and this is when it really struck home. It's funny how the Holy Spirit works. I'm in IT, and we tried a new technology out, and basically we created a tunnel, a point-to-point tunnel from our data center to the customer. So they're unrelated. There's no connection. It's the way it should be. Now, the fact that I had control of all of the top-level domain DNS entries, I was able to do things to set this up and get into their network. I was allowed to. It was intentional, but it was so easy and repeatable where, we're dealing with the enemy is very smart. They're highly intelligent. They all went to Harvard. They all practice, they all know systems science, right? Where the entries are. They talk about sustainability. Sustainability, you need things to flow in and flow out, and it needs to work. And that's part of the Marxist agenda. But the sustainability of the cheating, so we're going to use the Marxist term sustainability, right? The Green New Deal, it's always about sustainability. And now what they've done is they've enhanced the sustainability of their ability to cheat by having full control of the domains, of the top level domains. So Josh, let's go to 19. And getting back to the weaponization, right? Who are the players? So slide 19 mentions a guy named Chris Krebs, and he was the director of this DHS agency called CISA. And Chris Krebs is most famous for being outspoken and trying to move the Overton window to the point where we can accept as a country, as a society, we can normalize vote by mail ballots. We can normalize waiting 2-3 weeks for results. We can normalize ballot harvesting. We can normalize drop boxes. We can normalize a centralized vote count. This was the narrative. This is how they moved the Overton window so far to the cheating side that it's very difficult to confront a state lawmaker because they right away they want to put you in a straitjacket. So Chris Krebs is not our friend, and Chris Krebs was the director of this weaponized agency. And Chris Krebs has ties to Facebook, who helped censor the Hunter Biden laptop story, and he also worked at SolarWinds before he became director of SolarWinds, and he also worked at Facebook. And it's just an entangled web of this, this I don't know what the term would be. It's fascist.
It's a global crime syndicate is what we have going on.
Well,
and all of these people are working together. So there, I said it.
I call it election espionage is what I really call it. It's not fraud. It's very hard to detect because they cover their tracks. This is a formidable opponent. But I just want to call that out. And we opened this up by saying, well, this is weaponized. Well, that I submit to the people that they are based on their actions, based on Chris Krebs, based on the correlation of his connection to Facebook and the censorship that we've seen. And I know we can go into Twitter and YouTube and everything else, but I want to stay on point that Chris Krebs is tied into Facebook's. Chris Krebs is tied into SolarWinds. As a matter of fact, he started a consultancy now with Alex Stamos, who was the CEO of Facebook, and their first customer happens to be SolarWinds. So this is an entangled web, and it's hard for the people to grasp. It's hard for the state legislators to grasp, but we do have election espionage. So I just want to go through now and talk about the federal voting registration and how they've hijacked it. On slide 15, if you could just bring up slide 15, this is what I spoke to, I think on my first interview with Donna. And this is one of the ways that the feds push registrations. And it's called the Help America Verify Voters, and it's a way for a person to register who doesn't have any local ties, no state ID, no county ID, no driver's license. And what they do is they verify by using the last 4 digits of a social security number. And this whole shell game with social security numbers was it became a shell game under the Obama administration, where he basically stripped the relationship of the one-to-one relationship of a person's identity to their social security number, and they whittled it down in under the guise of security that we're only going to ask you for your last 4 digits, so you're safe. You can feel safe now, and that creates a lot of havoc in the system. Number one, I'm going off point here for a second, but they count and register jobs based on the number of social security numbers, which happens to be the last 4 digits, that have a relationship to an employer, their tax ID number. So you can have one person, one social security number attached, if they have 4 jobs, to 4 different withholding entities, which is a tax ID number. So that's a whole nother problem. But what we're seeing here is a huge number of federal voter registrations in this. This shouldn't be the norm of how people register, right? This should be, the outlier, not the norm. And what we're seeing in Texas, in border states, Arizona, in swing states, Pennsylvania, Georgia, we're seeing thousands upon thousands of voter registrations only using the last 4 digits of their social security number, and in numbers that you wouldn't believe. I've dubbed this the border hoax. And this is what they're doing. I believe they're using the CBP1 app, and they're pushing data through APIs into the federal voter registration database. And this social security website it's hosted on SSA.gov, which is Social Security Administration.gov, right? And if we do their who is lookup, we'll see CISA has it. There's another one. It's called FVAP, and FVAP is a website that allows military and overseas citizens to vote wherever they are. So you can register if you identify as a military member's partner, spouse, relative. So this is another huge threat. So I want to point out that right now, a recap, we're under the umbrella. You can stop sharing. I'm going to turn it over to Todd in a few minutes. And what Josh and I found in the first, Josh, why don't you give us like 5 minutes of the breaches, your most compelling vulnerabilities that you found, through our hundreds of hours of work, and then we'll turn it over to Todd, who's been very patient. Todd, thank you for listening to my rant and to the audience.
Not at all, no problem.
Going off of what you just said a minute ago, Jeff, you were talking about the FVAP system of them getting in through and allowing people overseas and military to be able to vote. One of the things that we saw in 2020 was that one of the previous presentations and items that I discussed was that in 2020, you have the October 2020 memo that came from CISA that talked about the Iranians who were actually attempting to get into the voter rolls using a reconnaissance tool called Accutenix. So they were seeing it so much so that the FBI actually put out 2 warrants for arrest on 2 members of the Iranian Advanced Persistent Threat Teams, which is a hacker team for a foreign nation. But also, one of the things that was given to me by a whistleblower within Iran, they actually showed us the video how they automated making absentee ballots from the FVAP website. And in the video where it shows it, there's just one state that you see. They have a folder for every state in the United States. But the one folder they go into, they show Alaska, and they showed there were over 134,000 absentee ballots created by this group who was making fraudulent absentee ballots. So we know that FVAP was a vector that was used in 2020.
So, and I don't mean to cut you off, but go ahead, finish your thought. I just dropped a new PowerPoint slide in our chat, and it's the one that we used at CPAC. Yes. Maybe because seeing is believing for the people. So just go through pull it open, and then just take a couple of minutes and just show them the most compelling what you think is there. I know I'm asking you to do this on the fly, and I cut you off, but it's if you can find that, pull it up.
Right. Well, and while I'm putting that up, let me explain real quick. One of the current things that had just come out was, and I know there's always a bit of contention when it comes to different people within government. However, you just recently had Christopher Wray from the FBI come out and say, in 2020, it was somewhat decentralized, but now that we have sort of the solidification of BRICS, where we have a lot of these foreign countries that have sort of formed a coalition, now it's going to be a lot more centralized and organized, where you're not just going to have to deal with the threat from Iran or Russia. It's going to be Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, all these other countries that are all working together as allies. And so 2024, I think from external, is going to be even more of a threat in that aspect, because now you have centralization of powers. And just going through this slide that I'd done real quick, one of the things I showed, election interference for 2024, Ray comes out and says they know since 2018 there have been more foreign actors who are wanting to interfere. And interfering isn't just changing the vote, it's influencing the vote. So it's those people out on social media, when you're using Facebook and Twitter, and all of a sudden you've got people with that look like questionable profiles. They set up, at first they used to set up actually compelling ones, and now it seems like they'll just throw 1 or 2 stock images. But with the creation of AI and AI imagery, you could make a completely fictitious person and create a whole backstory for that person to be able to fool a lot of people from the public. So now there's a lot more need for people in the public to sort of find their specific people that they know and understand. Because the polls that I've done, I did a show last week and I did a poll to see who people trust more for the media, and social media is really where most people trust their information, because the media here in the US has been so compromised by government entities or people tied to government entities that no one really has any trust within our mainstream media any longer. So now they're looking for alternate methods, which was funny because our media in the US started as alternate methods because, Sam Adams and all of our forefathers ran their own media sources to get around a centralized government's media that was controlling the narrative. So we're back at that cycle again. So that's going to be key for 2024.
Yeah, you don't have any like just a screenshot of QQ or the connection between that one VM from that election jurisdiction to China? Do you have that?
Right, but to me there are specific things as I've gone through. Really, the problem that I've noticed within the system as we now look at source code is the system itself has the internalized flaws of being able to get into the system and be able to manipulate it when you're sitting in person. And that's, there was a lot of debate over the forensic analysis that was done on Mesa County, because when you did page file analysis, you were catching, it was possible Windows Defender information whenever it was scanning for viruses. So as I looked through it, I've been sort of focused more on the source code just because of a couple of factors. Of it looked like the Windows Defender on Mesa County's server was corrupted from the very beginning.
Yeah, just Josh, we're getting down to Todd's time, but just one thing, we found many anomalies, enough to do 2 presentations. That was that important that we found these network breaches that I'm going to say I know are there, and the way that we're connecting the dots is that the overarching reach that the federal government has, it's been solidified now by CISA being the registrar, and it's an offensive attack on our election systems, and we need to bring it into light. Now, Todd is going to go through the anomalies that are like one in, I don't know, it's a better chance of the Miami Dolphins winning the Super Bowl. It's like one in 15 trillion. I don't know, Todd. I'm gonna turn it over to you because the numbers you throw at me are just astonishing, and the only way this could be achieved is by manipulation. And we're connecting the dots to the anomalies we saw across the country and even in my race. So, Todd, have at it, buddy.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Do you want me to bring the screen up, Todd?
Yeah, I have it on my end. There we go. So, yeah, what we got, as I mentioned before, I was able to download the Pennsylvania Edison data, which is what got me interested in this mess in the first place. And through a contact I was working with in Georgia, we were able to, she had someone within the DOD, and they were discussing the election and all the seeming anomalies and things that looked odd. And so they offered to share the official CISA election results. And what those are, I don't know if you've seen those reported, but CISA has specific contracts with 7 states to handle all of their election night reporting. And all of the election results for all the states eventually flow in and through CISA, and they are the company that report the results. Formerly based in Barcelona, Spain. They may still be there, but at one point they were in Ireland, and I'm not sure if they're back in Spain now. But what we're looking at in columns L, M, N, and O are the calculations we did for each batch here for Trump and Biden, and for the running total votes. So everything to the left of that was actual CISA data. One thing you might notice is that these new votes are fractional. There are decimal points in them, and that'll become clear as to why. So a pattern was evident within 15-20 minutes of looking at this. Once we did these calculations, it became very clear. In columns Q and R is the Edison research data, and we calculated just the Trump and Biden percentages of their votes as they came in. Edison research data was reported by the New York Times. So we have verified this data against what was reported as the results of the 2020 election. So we're comparing columns N and O to Q and R, and you'll see that they are exact matches. So again, this is Edison research data on the right, published by the New York Times. And what we've highlighted in yellow in these columns is where the total vote percentage is taken and is applied to the forthcoming batches of votes. So they override, apparently, what would have been organic percentages for those votes with whatever the previous existing total vote percentages were. And I'll show you how this gets more and more pervasive as the results come in. But so wherever the results are highlighted in yellow, that's happening. I've highlighted high percentage results for Biden in orange. And you can see early on, there's a few of those where it's not highlighted. You know, the percentages vary and seem organic. They're more random. And in yellow, you can see it gets more and more pervasive as the results come in. And this is in Georgia. And if you watch the Trump percentage, it's slowly going down. And where results are not highlighted in yellow, you see the orange high percentage batches for Biden that are injected. And as we go, you see more and more of just yellow and orange. Here is the large batch of 136,000 votes dropped in the middle of the night, supposedly after counting had stopped. And as you see, they get Trump down close to 50%. A few more high percentage Biden batches dropped in there. They get Trump at 50%. And then there are 55 consecutive batches that are all 50-50. And you can see here, votes are divided into partial votes in order to make that happen, as they were for the previous percentages. But there are the 55 consecutive batches, so they're holding it in place, putting the brakes on. And then there's a negative batch for Trump and a positive batch for Biden dropped in, puts him over the 50% mark, puts Biden over the 50% mark. And then from there on out, everything is the same exact percentage, 49.9 for Trump, 50.1 for Biden. There are 95 batches in a row that impossibly come in at those percentages. And one last little cherry on top for Biden of 85.9%. Now, we've had these videos out showing these results for well over a year, actually over 2 years now. We've had thousands and thousands of views. No one has refuted this. No one has come up with an explanation. And no one will talk about it. No one with an audience is willing to discuss this. If I can click over to, let's see, I'm gonna have to stop sharing.
It's absolutely impossible. I mean, this is absolutely impossible odds.
Exactly. And it's not letting me switch. Let's see. Okay, now it did. Would you like to see Michigan?
Yeah, love to.
For some reason, it's not letting me switch over, but I'll show you Pennsylvania real quick, and then maybe
hold on a second. Hold on a second, and I'll give you. Oh, hang on, I can't do that. Hold on. Let me see here. I am trying to. I have to have another slot here in the dashboard. Karen, I'll bring you back on in a little bit, okay?
Do you want me to stop sharing and I can click over probably?
There, try it now.
Okay. Yeah, not letting me. Are you seeing Pennsylvania now?
Seeing, let me see. Hang on. Let's go back and look a minute.
I have Pennsylvania up on my screen.
There you go.
That's why I asked Josh to present. I had the same problems last time.
That's all right. Do you see Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me show you what happened in Pennsylvania, because it's similar in all the swing states, but this is the worst. So again, we compare the Edison research data. It's a perfect match with the total votes we got from CISA, total vote percentages. Again, lots of yellow where the batches are matched to the total vote percentage. And at one point, Trump has a lead of 620,000 votes right here. 620,000 votes. Well, then there's a 3 hour and 20-minute break. And what do you think happens after that? Almost every batch is set to the match percentages, except those that are highlighted in orange, which again are high percentage counts for Biden, all coming in throughout the night, 15 batches in a row with the same exact percentage, getting Trump down to 50.9% of the vote. And in the end, another 35 batches with Trump below 50%. The total of those 49 batches that were 70% or more for Biden was 619,000 votes. So almost completely erasing, the vote lead that Trump had. And they managed to get Biden, over 50% as well. So just the 70% plus batches were, erased Trump's lead.
Impossible odds. And I don't understand why this is not out there in the media from coast to coast, from yelling it from the highest mountain, because there's no way this is a rigged election.
It's the biggest proof I've seen, and no one will talk about it. And this should be the biggest news story in the world, or at least in the country. And for 3 years now, we've been trying to scream this from the rafters, and no one's willing to listen. But everything in yellow is basically impossible. It might happen once in a million, a fluke, but basically you have 90% of the results being impossible, completely impossible. And the same happened in Michigan. I'm not sure, not being able to click over there. I'm going to stop sharing and I'll show you this other issue that we found. But Michigan looks pretty much the same as this. So
yeah, the sequential votes is what really kills me. I mean, it was 1 in 15 trillion or something you said to happen 12 out of 13 times. Insane. But guys, thank you. I'm going to bounce into another meeting. I'm going to continue to listen. I won't be able to respond. So thank you all.
Thanks for coming on today, Jeff. You're amazing.
Okay. Do you see now a PowerPoint on the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
There you go.
So bring it up a little larger. So this is a different situation. This analysis was done by Phil Evans. He did a lot of the analysis post-2020 for Dr. Shiva. And Phil is a great statistician and describes himself as a pattern recognition expert. So what he's looking at here are confidence intervals. So a confidence interval is just a statistical method of predicting results based on an initial sample size. And it's a proven formula that will predict within a certain margin of error. His confidence intervals for these primaries using CBRs or cast vote records for Palm Beach County, Florida, show that we were getting impossible results in most of our primary, or many of our primary races at least. So this is what normal results should look like. This is the law of large numbers, another statistical law, where you're going to vary in the beginning as you get results in, and then they should flatten out around the mean as you get a reasonable population of results in. So this would be how a race should look, where they vary.
Can you move down on the screen? You've still got the first slide up.
Uh-oh, it's not letting me page through them.
It doesn't look like it. So it's I'm not sure if we need to, let's see, let's go back to this and see if we can.
What I could do is reshare. That's going to take a little while. Is there a way to let me page, or is that not working correctly?
I think it's working on your end, but I don't know why it's not just advancing.
Okay, let me get to a page where I can just kind of talk about things, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting you page through it. or why it's not coming through on my end. There's always questions sometimes when you're live, when things don't quite, move the way you want it to.
I hear you. We'll go back and reshare, and this should at least show us one example. You see that now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So make it bigger. So this is what we're talking about. So as one of our former slides show, results should vary a little in the beginning and then flatten out along a line, right? Along their mean, which is what the law of large numbers says. However, Phil used this 99.99% confidence interval. After 14 votes in every precinct, he created this red area. And with 99.99% confidence, the results should have been in between these two red lines. So there's a 0.01% chance based on the initial results that the end result would be outside of this graph area. And you see what happened. In this race for the Democrat primary for governor in Florida, he received almost 8% higher than that confidence interval. So there was a 0.01% chance it would even end up above 62%. And he went all the way up to 70.
Wow.
And this happened in many races that we looked at, or that he looked at in Palm Beach County. Did the screen change?
It didn't change again, so I don't know why it's not refreshing there. But if you want to add a new one, that it works okay. If you want to, I'll kick it and then add a new one.
Yeah, let me keep doing that. So going to another example here. So this is two different races, a Republican primary and a Democrat primary. And you can see that after 14 votes in each precinct, so he's looking at the consecutive voters in every precinct. He's not even looking at the total votes. He has narrowed this down to, this is every first voter in all precincts, every second voter in all precincts, right? So after 14 votes in every precinct, you see the line start to go up and up and up. And this is for both a Republican and a Democrat, the apparently chosen winners in those races. So this is another indication that our elections are externally controlled and are not following any type of expectation that statistical laws tell you. And if I could page through slides, I have other examples of this.
If you want to go ahead and kick it, then we'll do it again. This works out okay.
Okay, good.
Here, I'll put it right there, and then you just share what you want. It'll come up and automatically share when you get it there.
Okay, great. So, this was happening on both Republican and Democrat races. And this is what these charts should look like. Here we go. They should start out with the variation and then flatten out around the mean, as I mentioned earlier. But instead, these candidates, they vary a little bit in the beginning, and then after 14 votes in each precinct is often the case, we see the chosen candidates line start to go up and up. And I'll show you what happened in one of those races we just looked at. Hold on a second. Page down first so that we get the right page showing up.
Really, whoever's behind this is an act of war against our nation. It's a threat to national security, and anybody involved in it, we've got a real problem.
This is treason. It's treason. Going at free elections in the U.S. And you can see what happened in one of those races I showed you where Joe Budd won, and his votes started increasing after 14 votes in every precinct. So you can see here, it starts going up, 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 and continuing up, whereas these appear to be what you would, expect in a normal population as more added to it. It flattens out. But then oddly, one person's Ira Weinstein here in red, their share of the vote kept dropping. And, people will say, oh, but maybe that's just, voter pattern. They see the winner and they want to vote for them. Well, or it's mail-in votes for, Democrats voting early and Republicans voting later, but these are primaries. So everyone's supposed to be from the same party. We're seeing it in many, many different races. And to my knowledge, there is no study done that shows that, people start voting for the winner as, they learn who's in the lead. I don't think that is the explanation here.
What's really odd is this, the interference from externally to the United States, it's an act of war. And from the inside, it's treason. And it's very clear that there's entities that have been working together in a very coordinated effort in an impossible way. I mean, they really tipped their hand to cheating when it got so out of whack.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people who have been researching, the myth of, our voting systems aren't online. So how could anyone interject or interfere in our elections? But I know many people who have witnessed election system employees remotely log into their system and change settings or fix an issue. And if you look into the Dallas County SOE resignation, that was because it came out, two of their employees in the supervisor of elections office were discussing how, employees of their voter system were logging in remotely. So if you follow Guy Smith, he has talked greatly about that, as well as FirstNet, and how it appears they provide system-wide or statewide accessibility to, first responders' internet service. And that's another interesting topic. But, to me, this is very clear, especially the first things I showed you, the CIDL data. There is no way that occurred organically.
So where do we go from here is the next question. How do we get this prosecuted? Because it's like with Jeff talking about the lawfare that needs to happen going forward. What's the next step? We can prove it. We proved in the state of Michigan that Dana Nessel knew about the fraudulent registration of voters, and she refused to act on it. And going forward with what's happened, I mean, this is top to bottom failure. It's fraud. It's treason. I mean, these are high crimes that have been committed in the United States.
Well, the first step, I think, is, people with a platform like yourself talking about this and getting the word out and getting enough public awareness and outrage over this, and then putting pressure on your elected officials, because right now they just want to sweep this under the rug. I mean, I've actually personally handed this information to a number of congressional and state, legislators, and, they're like, oh my gosh, wow. And then I don't know if they think I'm crazy or if they just don't really take a serious look at it, but they are willing to just sweep it under the rug. And I think this is proof that our elections have been stolen.
If you email that to me, I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to have you back on, and I can click through it on my side pretty easily. And so I don't know if you've got some more time. We can do it right now. And, or if you want to come back on another day.
It might be better to come on another day, and then we can kind of prepare what you'd like to go through. We do have a Rumble channel out there with videos of many state results, but I'd be happy to come back on and walk through.
I'd love that. Share with me your contact information, and I'll give you a call later today, and we'll see if we can get you scheduled so we can click through this entire presentation, because this is so important. People have no idea the gravity and where we are in losing this nation. They've already stolen 2 major elections.
Right. Oh, they have.
And I mean, if and they've installed their Marxist puppets in place, which is
they have,
which is taking it away from we the people. And if we don't have a voice and we don't rectify those elections, we will never have a voice again, because they get in office and then they just start writing laws and procedures. And in the state of Michigan, this has been going on for a long time. The 1963 Constitution was illegally installed. And from a procedural standpoint, the proposals that stripped parental rights away, and it dealt with term limits and our elections, stripping away the rights of we the people. All 3 proposals, they were highly misleading. The verbiage in there was extraordinarily misleading. And you see who are the players that are just passing this stuff. All you got to do is look at the Board of Elections. The state, the Board of Elections and the state is not to run elections. It's supposed to be run by we the people. Well, they got their fingerprints all over this thing. And now you can see the foreign elections or foreign interference involved as well. And just to let you guys know, so that this is something you may not know, but I sat in a Board of Elections, Board of Canvassers meeting. The Board of Elections director was there, etc. And there was a man that showed up at this election. His name is Mark, and this is a matter of public record. He put it right out there in front of God and everyone that he's a signature gatherer for petitions and to get things on the ballot as well as candidates. And he admitted in the meeting that the Board of Elections allowed him to go in and copy off all the petitions, including signatures and addresses, into the Board of Elections, where candidates such as myself who wanted to go and scrutinize it, we were kept out. We could not, we had no access to, they kept us out, which is illegal. You should be able to scrutinize that information of your competing candidates, right? That's what it's there for.
Right.
He went in and he copied off all the petitions, admitted to sending them to Bangladesh for signature verification, and admitted that they had signatures from the past to compare them to.
Unbelievable.
And everybody sat there just like, I don't know. I felt like I was the only one whose jaw hit the ground when he said this, and no one else batted an eye, because they don't care about upholding the law. They have no interest in following the law or upholding it. They're just kind of doing whatever they want to do, and they know that they've written enough in a lawful way. They've written enough in a procedural way, in a lawful way, just which is absolutely against the Constitution.
Oh, they've been working on this a very long time.
They want. They can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can say,
as Jeff mentioned, sorry, Josh.
No, I was going to say, so other than, because this is sort of a threefold kind of situation. So
it's 100-fold. This thing, we've got so many. This is like a squid, a fraud squid.
Right, but so you've got the electronic and the cyber side, which is first off, most of your election equipment itself, the hardware is being made in foreign countries, which I don't know if you've ever talked to Harry Howry, who helped write the HAVA Act. But I
would love to.
All of the U.S. election system is still, it's considered national infrastructure. So it is under the regulation of government equipment within the United States. And the NSA has a very strict policy of what equipment is authorized for use, of which most of the election vendors in the United States don't follow. They're using equipment, computers and systems that do not have supply chain verification. So we don't know if the hardware itself has backdoors put into them. But on top of the electronic and the cyber side, then you have the human intelligence side. That's the people who are working in the central counts. And what we saw in 2020 was political activists who were coming in through temporary agencies so they could get into these central counts to be able to do things like you saw in Detroit, where they were putting up pizza boxes to keep people from being able to see what they were doing inside that central count. And because they went through a temporary agency, you were not able to FOIA and find out who all was actually in those central counts. Because the problem is a lot of these political activist groups, you're almost fighting an insurgency, and going by what we would call coin doctrine, counterinsurgency, where you're now fighting ideology, and ideological fights are, it's a lot dirtier of a fight, because you have two sides that are really the same side that are all jockeying for power. And you know, the one thing that I think Trump has done beautifully since 2015 is to get people to understand that there is no two parties. It is one group of people who are not doing the best interest for the American people. What they're doing is to make sure that they themselves are enriched by being put into these positions. And this is where, you know, right now, if you ever go to Quiver Quantitative and you look at the stock trading of representatives and senators, they're making millions of dollars from insider information, while most people in the United States are struggling just to be able to buy groceries and keep a roof over their head. So,
well said. Well said. It's a uniparty, and it exists to grow, enrich itself. And, you know, I think that the American population is finally getting their hands around this, because you can see, you know, when you have a two-party system and they're just lobbing the ball back and forth, there's no change that's happening. We have had no change. They promise us the world, but they do nothing. And then they blame the other side, and they're both doing it because they're coordinated in their attacks.
And then they control the MSM narrative. So, you know, the public is fed whatever they want them to hear, and keep a control on it that way. At least people are waking up, fortunately, and going to other sources.
Well, I would love to have you guys on anytime you want to be on here, because this is something that we cannot just back away from. We have to continue to go forward. And I'll say it every show, is that President Donald Trump is the rightful president of the United States. And I'm pretty extra sure that everybody out there knows it. But because we can't get access, we've got how many counties in the state of Michigan, they couldn't even audit them because seals were broken, and the chain of custody was absolutely a disaster. And then once we got past it, they ran the clock out. They did everything they could to run interference with us having a free and fair and honest election, and hiding information from we the people. So we couldn't even address it. If going forward, in many cases, we couldn't even address it. I was involved in a Zoom meeting, and I think what was really shocking is we had a cybersecurity expert there, and he pointed out that, and the only way that we found it was finding this information in precincts in Michigan, which failed to connect to the internet the way that the big cities would. So you could only find it in small precincts. But they were the machines were reaching out to the internet every 15 minutes, and we've got it all documented. You can see what happened and how they were in fact reaching out every 15 minutes.
And
Wow.
when I've looked at source code, because the Mesa County image, whenever it went and was posted publicly, and we were able to actually look directly at the source code, you know, looking at that system and doing forensic analysis, we saw 117 instances of remote access into their intranet. So supposedly their net inside Mesa County was not connected to the internet and going out publicly, but someone was bringing a laptop into that facility and connecting into the election management server. And when we looked at the source code, it has the ability to create what's called a proxy. It's a window out into the internet, and it's written directly into the source code. When we scanned Mesa County, I used a program called Nmap, and I used a programming script that was able to look at it and find vulnerabilities. Just in the Mesa County image, we found 3,700 pages, about 14,000 plus vulnerabilities just in that one system. So if they haven't updated since 2021, that means each one of those systems have 14,000 opportunities for someone to get into that system and crack into it. And ironically, the first page of that vulnerability list are all the ones that Professor Haldeman himself talked about for here in Georgia. So they know how extensive the vulnerabilities are, but to keep themselves popular and relevant, they only talk about what they put up at the top level.
It's really shocking to me how people avoid the truth because it's uncomfortable a lot of times. And it also forces them to have to get involved or do something. And so those things, somebody just asked that they'd like to know the name of your Rumble channel on the chat. Thanks, Eric.
Yes, Enigma Intel.
Okay, let me see if I can bring that up here to show everybody. Hang on a minute. Yeah, but you know what? The only way we're going to write this is if we actually, get into the areas that are not all kinds of fun. We're going to have to slog this thing out and, get in there and be willing to look at uncomfortable truths and then be strong enough to right what's wrong. You can't just walk away from this and pretend it didn't happen. I mean, right. And looking at your facts, something else that really struck me on this here, I got to do one thing at a time, then I'll go up and pull your website up. That really struck me on this is that the people can say, oh, these are not norms. There's variations in this. Well, guys, I think we're all smart enough. We can make an analogy to weather. We can look at things that are expected in the different seasons. Like today in Michigan, we're in the middle of winter and our temperatures are below zero. You can expect certain normal activities going on. When you get outside of that norm in even within the seasons, you're not going to have mid-January in Michigan going 80 degrees. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's absolutely, I can tell you with absolute certainty, it's not going to happen unless something catastrophic.
Those are laws of nature, right? And we have those are laws of nature, and we have laws of statistics. And, laws of nature maybe are broken sometimes. Laws of statistics are pretty much always correct. And if you have consistent breaking of those, it's a complete red flag that people are ignoring and want to brush under the rug. What Jeff said about a zero trust system is where we should be. Instead, we're like 100% trust system. We have black box voting systems that we're supposed to trust and believe, even though they have coders in international locations creating these systems. There are a million plus lines of code in most of these. We can't review it. Supposedly our states do, but how are they reliably able to do that when it takes less than 400 lines of code to change the infill on a ballot and save the image to match it? University of Michigan, I believe, is the one, or the IT department are the ones that created that program and proved it.
Well, and the crazy thing is that's where Connacht came from, was they had the connections to Michigan State and in Lansing, and you can see how this is all connected. I mean, throw in there the universities, and you've got a real problem here, because not only that, they were registering voters same day voting. And the amount of manipulation going on here, not only from a physical, provable physical factual, but also from a psyop and sucking people in to be their foot soldiers. You've effectively got a color revolution. What it's Enigma and then Intel. Okay, hang on a minute.
If you go to the bottom, Election Enigma was our first video that kind of explains the societal data and many other anomalies that came out of the 2020 election. And that's kind of a good introduction. And then we have many videos for single states. There's one that focuses on the swing states that is also towards the bottom right after Enigma.
I've got enigmaintel.org here. So hang on a minute, and I will bring that up just a second here.
Are you on Rumble? Are you on Rumble?
I'm looking at enigmaintelinc.org.
Go to Rumble and then type in and search for Enigma Intel, and that'll bring up our channel.
Okay, hang on a minute. Oh yeah, here we go. Got it. Perfect.
Right.
Well, whatever I can do to help you guys get this information out, you've clearly done just a spectacular job, you know, amassing this amount of information. So you got, here's Michigan.
Yeah. Yep, there you go.
Can we play it?
Sure.
Okay, hang on a minute. All right, let me get this going.
Hello, America, and especially those of you living in Michigan. I want to show you what were the official results of the 2020 presidential election. These are the results for Michigan. We're looking at the official CISA election results, and I'm also going to show you how they compared to the Edison research data published by the New.
Should there be something on the screen right now, or does it start out with black screen?
It should be showing the data already. Maybe you don't have the names again. These are what people are hanging their hat on as the official results of the 2020 election. Now,
hang on a minute. Let me see what's going on here. So I
want to bring your attention more closely.
All right. So hang on a minute. Let me see what I can do here. Not sure why that's not showing. That's odd.
You've broken up a little. How's your internet connection?
We've got a beastly good internet connection, actually. So let me see if I can. Oh, here we go. Okay, I got it now.
I want to bring your attention more closely to the numbers highlighted in yellow. You'll see these are the
this is crazy
total percentages of running total vote percentages for Trump and Biden.
Okay, I can see it when it's. This is funny. Hang on a minute. Why is this not playing? This is so odd. Let's try it one more time. So I can see it when. That's odd. That's odd. All right.
Do you want me to try on my screen? Because I might be able
to. Somebody's messing with us here, guys.
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, they sure are messing. They don't want this information out there. You know, I've actually had people that have been on with me, and their computers will start going weird. I've had two of them that all of a sudden the fan will go on and they burn their computer out. Just being online with me. And I mean, this is over the time here. It's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, seriously, right?
I wish it were, more surprising. Okay, let me try it.
Okay.
You see it?
Yep. There you go. Let me add up.
Electrify your metabolism back to teenage levels by eating 1/2 teaspoon of this with ice water.
Okay.
Electrify your metabolism back to teenage levels by eating 1/2 teaspoon of this with ice.
Hello, folks. You may have seen some of our other videos. In this video, I want to focus on Michigan. There's been a lot of talk about Michigan, a lot of very blatant issues that came out of the 2020 election. And here I want to show you the official results data that we obtained. You've seen some of our other videos. We've obtained it for about almost 40 states. And we show how there are some very strange things that happened. And in our longer video, the last 10 minutes kind of shows you, how we validate this data, and I'll do a little bit of that.
I'm going to go back and forth between screens a little bit so we don't get a strike.
A through K columns is the Edison data, and then we calculated L through O columns. That's CISA data on the total vote percentages. So the overall totals as you go through, at that point in time, that's the breakdown between Trump and Biden. And then this is the percentage for each count that comes in. So how those new votes broke down between Trump and Biden. And what we're going to show you is that the percentages for the new votes starts to be set to match exactly with the total vote percentage at that point in time. Again, that should really only happen in the very first results where the numbers are the same, the new are the total, basically. So new Biden votes are the same as his total. So of course the percentages would match, but they should never really do that again unless there's some kind of fluke, 1 in a million kind of thing. But in yellow, we highlight where that begins to happen again and again. Now there's 2 results in a row that are the same exact percentage between Trump and Biden for the new votes, and it matches exactly with where the total vote percentage was at that point in time. So you're basically locking in that result while the results match to it. You can see Trump has a really nice lead in spite of Biden's big win in the very first result of almost 73.4%, and 26,000 votes. But
that's suspicious right there.
at any rate, Trump still manages to get ahead quite nicely. And in spite of there being a lot of set results, here we have 5 in a row that are exactly the same breakdown, and those are the new votes coming in. They're breaking out exactly the same to 0.1% between Trump and Biden, and that happened to have occurred, that same percentage, in the total vote right before that. So they're keeping that percentage all the way through until a new percentage result comes in. So I've also highlighted some high percentage votes for Biden in orange. You'll see how those become more and more prevalent, more and more suspicious as we go through. Trump is up over 60% of the vote here. And
if you tie this
are more and more
the other presentation I made, I mean, this is truly what Trump probably got, was around 60.
And as you can see,
that's where they started manipulating. There were enough votes in at that point.
See the timestamp over here on the left. That is in Zulu or Greenwich Mean Time, and Michigan would be about 5 hours earlier than that, maybe 4 hours earlier than that. And you can see the high counts for Biden again happening. Here are about 10 in a row that are the same exact percentage. Another 10. And it continues throughout the reporting. Look at this, the number of 55-45 results. Of course, the total's not going to change, as those are all the same as the total vote percentages were right before that. Keep going, more orange. It gets to a point where it's almost all yellow and orange results. And we go throughout the evening. Trump's lead is up there, but it begins to diminish. Here's a 92% count for Biden, over 54,000 votes.
And impossible.
6% count for Biden.
What are the chances?
I can see more.
0.
Highly in his favor. There are even some negative numbers coming in the pink, which is
how do you get negative
Why
numbers?
would they be subtracting votes when they should just be adding them? Again, here you see almost all entirely yellow and orange.
So you see,
and we get to the end. There's
Can you pause it just a minute?
41,000 votes that came in the middle of, that was early morning on the 4th.
There's the big
96% almost for Biden.
Really? Over 90?
Tell me that's not suspicious. And where else did we see that? Was it Georgia? Yes. Pennsylvania? I believe so. Wisconsin as well. And there you see it, another grouping of only orange and yellow results until we get to the end. Here, and you can see that even the negative results, negative for Trump, negative for Biden, are broken down by the same exact percentages. Now you'll ask, how do we validate that this is the real election results data? As I mentioned before, we also obtained the Edison research data, which is the official reporting arm of the elections process and system, and they report the data to the media. So all the news agencies get their results, their polling numbers from Edison Research, and that was out there publicly. The New York Times published it, so people can go out there and source it for themselves. what we show here is that these two numbers are exactly the same as a percentage breakdown here. And these are just the Trump and Biden vote percentages. So you can see as you go down, you know, these numbers and these numbers are exactly the same to the 10th of a percent. I'll just quickly scroll so you can kind of see that and kind of verify it for yourself. I'll just pause this video, double check. I'll pause it there for a second so you can kind of do a quick eye-to-eye comparison there, or eye rather. So there you have it, folks. Those numbers are exactly the same. That's the official Edison research data, showing that it matches with the CISA data that was obtained. So you get the picture of the 2020 election, and you can see that there is no way these results happened organically, and that they had to have been set by your Secretary of State or the impeached algorithm. You know, it set the results of the election. These are definitely not organic, natural results.
That is so shocking.
Mm-hmm. It is. And, you know, these numbers follow what was reported throughout the election. It shows the big jumps in the middle of the night. We've charted it in the first video we made, Election Enigma. You can see that we chart our numbers against the charts that were published soon after the election, and they're the same. They show all the same, you know, little jumps and votes and the big jumps in the middle of the night. So this is what they're hanging their hat on as being the results of the election. Then they try to say, well, CISA isn't the official results. Well, they end up matching in the end. We don't have the results running until the end of reporting, but, you know, the end result is very close to what we show in these.
Would you like to share that first part of the first video that you did? Because I've got it up here, proof of election fraud using official results of data.
It's about 18 minutes long. If you want to advance to the Michigan section, we could watch what was put out about Michigan, what we found.
I think that you have to share that from your end, because for whatever reason, it's not allowing me to, you know, this is what you have to do. That's why I've been toggling back and forth, because I'm really trying to foil the AI a little bit, because if I run a video, you know, more than a few minutes, then I get a strike for copyright infringement. It's not a person, it's a bot. It's the bots that do it.
Gotcha.
We can toggle back and forth a little bit and throw them off the track.
Okay, good. Let me bring up that video and then I'll start sharing my screen. Would you like to hear just some of the major anomalies?
Oh yeah, well, whatever you want to share. I mean, this is your time to get out whatever you want. And like I said, you're welcome to come back anytime you want. You know, it doesn't even really matter. My normal broadcast is between 9 and 11:30, 5 days a week. But okay, if you want to do another time, I can go ahead and start it up, snap the cameras on, and get moving on this so we can get it out there. I do think this is a big deal. So if you want to do a longer one at night or something like that, doesn't matter. This is so critical this information is so critical. People need to see this.
Thank you for recognizing that, Donna. I'll give you the introduction to our video. This is for all those election fraud deniers out there that think our election was not stolen in 2020. I think if you see this information, perhaps, you know, it'll wake.
Why do so many question the integrity of the 2020?
Sorry, I don't think I'm sharing yet, correct?
Yeah, you are sharing.
Oh, am I? Okay, here we go.
The U.S. presidential election. There's an endless list of reasons and countless numbers and statistics that do not add up. Here, we will show you why and expose the truth behind the numbers. Let's quickly review just a few of the many anomalies and irregularities of the 2020 election. Keep in mind, these are just the tip of the iceberg. 2020 saw the highest voter turnout of any election since 1900. 66.8% of adult citizens voted, a jump of over 5% from 2016. Registered voters also increased by almost 2.5%. Now, let's take a look at the swing states. In Pennsylvania, a little over 1.8 million mail-in ballots were sent out, but nearly 2.6 million were returned, meaning there were over 760,000 unexplained extra ballots.
That should have stopped right
21,000
there.
dead voters were discovered.
Right?
There
How
were
did they
over 1
certify
million
these
voters whose
elections?
only vote on record was the 2020 election.
Did they not
Keep in
look
mind,
into it at all?
only around 300,000 residents came of voting age between 2016 and 2020. Over 300,000 voters were purged from the Sure registered voter database after November 3rd. According to data published by the New York Times, 3 of the largest Pennsylvania counties had matching percentage results for many of their vote counts. In Allegheny County, 13 of 18 absentee ballot
That's what I
counts
mentioned
matched
earlier.
with 1%, and 4 other counts matched with each other. Bucks County had 7 consecutive matching results for absentee vote counts, then 3, then 2, and 2 consecutive matching results.
So this ties into the CISA
Philadelphia
results.
County
These are the
had
biggest
9 matching
counties in
counts and
Pennsylvania.
8 others that matched in percentages for the candidates. Looking at Arizona, in Pima County, there were a number of voting precincts that saw extremely high return rates for mail-in ballots. 2 had over 100% technically impossible, and 40 had over 97% returned, highly unlikely. Also, as the return rates went up, so did the percentage of votes going to Biden. These numbers should not necessarily move
This is
together. In
Bill
technical
Evans'
terms,
work.
there is no reason for them to correlate. As you can see
Right
in this
here.
chart, return rates increase going from left to right. The blue dot shows that Biden gets a higher percentage of the vote as return rates go above the average of 87%. The share of votes was consistent below the average. Again, this would not happen naturally. What's even more odd is that as the return rate went up, Republicans went from voting 6% for Biden to 40% for Biden. There is no reason this should
Suspicious.
normally happen. Biden
Just a
won
bit.
by over 90,000 votes and only won the state by 10,457 votes. Arizona also saw a huge increase of 7.4% in registered voters between the primary in March and the general election in November. Arizona also had a very high 80% voter turnout in the state and over 80% turnout in 6 of their 15 counties. So not only did Arizona have an oddly large increase in registered voters in 2020, they also saw extremely high turnouts, especially in mail-in ballots. In Georgia, there is recorded video footage from the State Farm Arena showing poll workers pulling cases of ballots from under tables in the middle of the night after counting had supposedly stopped, and after most poll workers and all poll watchers were sent home. Many large vote counts came in after they were supposedly stopped counting, including one with over 136,000 votes for Biden at 1:34 a.m., over 82% of the total count. 1 million mail-in ballots were suspiciously ordered from the printer for Fulton County when no time remained to mail them out to voters. Once again, over 10,000 dead people voted. Over 4,900 people voted who were registered to vote in another state. And most interestingly, a mathematician named Edward Solomon signed a sworn affidavit stating that hundreds of ballot counts across various voting precincts all came out with 5.555% for Trump, indicating a fractional vote system or algorithm was in place. In Chesterfield, Michigan, per grassroots canvassing efforts headed by Michigan State Representative candidate Jackie Eubanks, 20% of voters had some kind of irregularity. Many voters did not live at the address. Of those who did, many said that they did not vote, yet a vote was cast for them. Many illegal addresses were found, including incomplete addresses and addresses for businesses.
And
In
Jackie
Wayne
was
County,
threatened.
Michigan's
I
largest,
bet.
71 voting precincts could not balance their books because there were more votes than voters. Results showed over 170,000 votes with no registered voters associated with them. Canvassers also found that in Macomb County, there was a cumulative 170,000 registered voters in excess of the voting age population. Also of note, in the 10 areas that Michigan received the most Zuckerberg CTCL money, 9 of the 10 went to Biden. Across the country, 25 of the 26 areas receiving $1 million or more in CTCL funds went to Biden. Defend Florida canvassing efforts reviewed 10,000 registered voters. Nearly 5,600 voted, and of those, close to 3,900 voted by mail. Nearly 800, or 20% of those, appear to be phantom voters, or voters who are deceased, don't live at the registered address, or the address is invalid. Also in Florida, as a test, 8,000 postcards were mailed to registered voters at their addresses on record. Of those, 1,200 were returned as undeliverable. In other words, either the person did not live there or it was an invalid address. 6 counties had registrations totaling over 100% of the eligible voting population. 2 more had 100%, and 19 had 95% or more, all of which were abnormally high, indicating likely fraudulent registrations. In those suspicious 6 counties, Democrats increased votes by 45% on average versus 2016, but only increased registered voters by 12% during that time, a huge difference of 33 points. Republicans, however, increased registered voters by 18% and increased voters by 20%, tracking much more closely together as one would expect. Take a look at this chart. Democrat registered voter increase is in blue, and their voter increase is in orange.
Wow.
Republicans' registered voter increase is in gray.
This was a study we
and
did.
Their voter increase is in yellow. You can easily see how much larger the orange increase in Democrat votes is than their increase in registered voters in blue.
And these are in highly
We looked
Republican
at 12 of the states that track registered voters by party. This chart shows the change in registered voters and the change in votes between 2016 and 2020 for both parties. The first red column shows the number of percentage points Democrats increased in votes was larger than their increase in registered voters, an average of 27 points across the 12 states. Republicans had a 2-point difference. In other words, Democrats somehow did 13.5 times better than Republicans in voter turnout versus registered voter increase. Again, one would expect these numbers to track together as they did for Republicans. Now that we've seen just some of the oddities that occurred during the 2020 election, let's revisit what happened on election night. How did Trump's substantial lead in 4 of 5 swing states disappear late in the evening on election night? How did Biden get just enough votes to give him these slight margins? How is it that all of these states went for Biden in the middle of the night after counting stopped in many of the largest counties? And why did only the swing states take longer to count their votes and produce their election results? We will show you. CISA, in conjunction with Clarity Elections, handles the vote tabulation and reporting for the entire U.S. election system. Data collection teams obtain the official CISA election results data, which we will now review. Let's begin by looking at the data for 2 of the swing states, Pennsylvania and Georgia, and show how it demonstrates without a shadow of a doubt that results were set likely using an algorithm. These are the CISA election results for Pennsylvania, showing running total votes for both Trump and Biden. And in these columns,
this is getting into what we already reviewed, but people can feel free to continue watching that another 10 minutes or so, showing the results for the swing states. Anyway.
This is amazing. And the one thing that I think we've got to point out is that it's the legislature that has to decide. We want to blame Queen Gretchen, her squire Nessel, and the court jester Benson here in the state, which is our governor, attorney general, and secretary of state. But the whole legislature is responsible for the certification of the elections. So I don't know why we're not talking about this and or changing our plan of attack to reverse these elections, because I haven't really heard anybody except for myself talking about this so strongly. And I think every single one of them needs to be removed because they were not fulfilling their oath of office and ensuring that these elections were honest. And there's been plenty of information out there, and I'm just not seeing enough actual go. It's all a distraction right now from these people that are sitting in the seats on both sides of the line. It doesn't matter which party they're in.
Right. Well, there is some good news on that front, Donna. A group that I've been working with called United Sovereign Americans. They have a website out there, Unite.
What is it called?
It's United Sovereign Americans. You could bring up their website. It's unite4freedom.com. And they were started out of a group called Audit New York. Concerned citizens after the 2020 election, they were locked inside for a very long time, and they started looking into their elections and found a lot of evidence that pointed to fraud. And they started looking into the laws around elections. And we currently have people working in more than 10 states putting together legal initiatives to go after illegally certified elections.
Do you have anybody in Michigan?
We have some people. I'm not sure if they're going to get, so in a scorecard, which shows, trying to think where it is on this website. It changed recently. There are a lot of good videos under media that kind of show the legal strategy. The resolution, if you go back up a little bit and in that red area and click on resolution, keep going down right there, the resolution. And then click again on the red box. So they've created scorecards which show infractions against black letter law, election law, both state and federal. Some of it's HABA, some of it's NIVRA, and then there are state elections. Does it bring up a resolution?
I'm not seeing that. Well, let's try
now. Click on read now.
Let's try that one.
There you go. And so this is a resolution discussing the issues they have found. We will have a scorecard for each state showing the black letter law violations, why the 2022 now election should not have been certified, why they were illegally certified, and demanding people stand up for free and fair elections that are following the letter of the law. And there will be legal action taken behind it. So you can go to this website and sign up to volunteer. Next time I'm on, I can give you an update and give you a list of the states where people are taking action. There you go. I think that is the actual resolution, if it will let you bring it up. There we go.
Here we go.
So it's a brilliant strategy. People mentioned Harry Hari earlier. He is the co-head of United Sovereign Americans, co-founder, and he has been leading us along with Marley Hornick on this effort. So
can you connect me to him?
Yes.
When we get off air today, then I wanna. Can you see the private chat in this? I think we're connected by Signal too. So I mean, let's talk today, because I really am extraordinarily interested in this. It seems like this is some of the most complete oh, there you go. I got it. The most complete information I've thus far seen, and I'm really encouraged about this today. This is absolutely amazing.
Great. Well, I appreciate you standing up and doing all you're doing, Donna. It's great that people get active and do everything they can. That's what we need right now.
Well, I don't know if you know my background, but I ran for governor of the state of Michigan. I was removed from the ballot twice illegally. I sued in Supreme Court. The Board of Elections lost 10,000 of my signatures, ambushed me to get me off the ballot. Right now, there's 3 people with 27 felonies in the Attorney General's office. I just testified this past week, and that's just the signature point. But I'm going to tell you, the whole system, top to bottom, is absolutely rigged. And I got to see it firsthand because I was never in politics, and I got asked to run, and I'm like, okay, I'll figure this out like a business owner would. And unless we dig every single point of failure out, and every single person who was involved in the rigging of our elections, a national security issue, an act of war from outside agencies, and treason from within, it's going to creep back in again. And every single person attached to this is going to have to face justice for what they've done. And so I'm really, really extraordinarily impressed by what I'm seeing you guys do, because we have to get to the bottom of this. And I appreciate from the bottom of my heart all the hard work you put into this, that everybody has put into this to make sure that we do have free and fair elections. We have to. We
Well,
can't let it go.
Yeah, I've been looking into this for 3 years now. I've tried to bring together the most, blatant proof and convincing evidence we can find, and it's been my main focus because I feel like without free and fair elections, we don't have a country, and obviously we have so much evidence of that right now with everything going on, the border crisis, and you name it.
Right. We have a border crisis because we have election failure. That's
Right.
what we have there.
Election fraud and
Election fraud. We have wars all over the globe right now because of election fraud and failure. And you look at Biden. I refuse to call him a title, because if you cheat to get your way into office, you didn't earn the title, you don't deserve the title, and you deserve to be prosecuted for the crimes that were committed, including the crimes against humanity that resulted in that election. And
well,
that's
and look at Hunter's laptop. I mean, that alone, he should have been impeached a long time ago. I don't know. Maybe they're dragging it out so it happens closer to the election, which would make sense, but he should be impeached. It's blatantly clear that they have committed plenty of treasonous acts and accepted a lot of foreign bribes and money.
I'm really hoping that they're dragging this out so that we can catch every last person from top to bottom that was involved in this, because what I've seen from President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, since he really broke on the scene politically, to run for president, what I've seen is that he's really been the uncover all sorts of crime. And you got to be a pretty smart person, as I believe he is, in order to throw yourself out there as bait, to bait people into engagement and catch them in the act of what they've done. He's just performed in an absolutely stellar way in to throw himself out there. And I think that when he said we got it all, I think he means we got it all. And now we're just watching him continue to commit the crimes so that, the case is stronger, because we absolutely have to throw this out there for everyone to see. And not just one or two people, but every single person that has any concerns about the election. It's going to have to be so universally accepted to get everybody on the same page that the next person who steps in, I'm truly hoping that President Donald Trump is given his rightful office publicly, because it was fraudulently stolen. And the next person that steps in has got a unified country over the amount of corruption, and fraud that was committed once all the criminals are removed. And I would pretty much love to see the military step in, take control of this, and throw everybody that's committed anything right in front of into a tribunal, and see how they fare when not in the Soros fraud judges that we have out there, that they're all part of this system. It's the parties, it's the judicial system, it's the whole thing is one big beast system and machine to defraud the American public, the American citizenry, and the entire world. And look how they've got child labor. I mean, you could sit here and you could never get to the end of the crimes that they have committed across the world.
Child labor and child trafficking. I mean, look at what's coming out in the Epstein files, and people they're not even talking about it on the left.
Absolutely. The Epstein absolutely. The gender mutilation that's going on, and the amount of money that they're making through these transition centers, and taking the rights away from parents, so that that children become wards of the state, and parents are just considered incubators for their newest converts to their Marxist system. And the sad thing is that the people that jump on board with this nonsense don't realize, as soon as they're done using them, they're going to be the next ones that are going to be genocided or executed, because that's what these people do. They use it. You can look at where I think our country is right where the Bolsheviks were during the Bolshevik revolution. And how many people? 10 million people were executed. Nobody talks about it. We talk about World War II. We don't talk about what Kissinger did in Cambodia. And
people should look into the vaccines if they don't think that's happening today. Look what the vaccines are doing to people. Cancer rates, heart issues, myocarditis. You know, I saw something recently that projected a huge percentage of the population could end up dying because of the aftermath of the vaccine.
And the sad thing is if we want to point the finger on that, all we have to do is look at is one instance is Amway in Grand Rapids, the nature boy and girl there that started that up. And they've got 4 facilities in here called Graham that they were behind, funded with a hedge fund, I believe, called I'm not sure it's a hedge fund, but it's an entity called Arlington. And the thing of it is that they were packaging and producing the Johnson & Johnson shot in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And if you see the tentacles, and then tie that into the January 6th Fedsurrection, who resigned the next day? Betsy DeVos did. And then who got funded with rewarded with $25 million through them? That would be Mike Pence. This thing to go against President Trump, the rightful president of the United States. These people are scared to death of him getting back in again. But because if President Trump, I'm going to say when President Trump gets back in again, heads are going to roll, and this thing is going to get resolved. And it's why the elections, if we don't do our job as the citizens of the United States and demand that these people are removed that took part in this and have free and fair elections, we're done. We're sunk. It's not our time to stand up for President Trump in these elections and everything there and refuse to accept the usurpation, the treason, the sedition that's gone on in this nation.
Exactly. You're exactly right. People need to get active and stand up for their rights, or you're going to lose them forever.
And those people that committed treason, the punishment for that is clear. You commit treason and you go through a tribunal, the end result is execution.
And if you listen to talking heads right now, you know, losing their grip over the possibility of a Trump presidency again, you know, you can see they're panicking, and that's likely a big part of it.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you to both of you. Josh, do you have anything else that you want to add to this before we move on to our day? Because I would love to have you gentlemen back on again anytime.
Well, I think between a lot of the things that we're watching, you know, like within everything that's going on and all the people that we're seeing that have been involved in this, a lot of the original people who were trying to put things on the right path, you know, there's a guy I knew, Rich Higgins, before he passed away from COVID. He got kicked out of the National Security Council because he was trying to warn Trump about the Muslim Brotherhood and the Muslim World League infiltrating within the United States government. And I think, you know, just this week they've come out, NBC did an article where they've admitted that there is a cabal of people within the government who are getting ready to do everything they can to make sure that when Trump wins and he gets in, that they again do what they did the first 4 years where they box him in to where he can't change anything, sort of like they did with Ukraine. That's why they had Eric Ciaramella, Alexander Vindman, and Andrea Chalupa in the National Security Council to make sure Trump couldn't stop what their plans for Ukraine were, because Ukraine has become their biggest money laundering operation pretty much on the planet. Well said. And so, you know, there all these pieces that have been going, and there was a good excerpt that came from Sammy the Bull Gravano, who had said, you know, the mob for a long time in New York had tried everything they could to get in close to Trump because they wanted to flip him and control him. And they said they couldn't because everyone who's around him, all of his security were all ex-FBI agents, and they could sniff it out before there was any chance. And being in the midst of this, like I had dealings with, I got questioned by the January 6th committee. And I didn't even go to the January 6th event. I was invited, but I didn't go. But my testimony, everything I said was actually destroyed. It was never released out to public because I spoke. They asked me, I think they were under the impression I was just some dumb hick from Texas, because that's what the media tried portraying me as. And it was actually sort of favorable. There are so many people. You got guys like Todd, you've got all these people all across the country who have been trying to work on stuff. And I'm glad they've had the room to be able to actually operate, because like you're seeing the 65 project, which all of these groups that have been, whether it's the lawfare that's going against Trump now, all of the people that are involved in all the lawsuits going against Trump now, all tie back to the Russia collusion that was created right after he won. It was falsified. So this has just been one continuous stream of the same people within government who've been weaponized. And that's going to be, I think, the biggest thing. I listened to an interview last night with Michael Flynn and a number of others. Trump's got a lot of work ahead when he gets in to clean out the government, because you've got people who've been controlled by foreign intel assets. You've got people who've been controlled because, on the Epstein side, you've got guys who couldn't control themselves and got control. I felt really bad because, seeing Stephen Hawking was even on the island. And I'm like, and at the time, I think the guy was married. So to see even Stephen Hawking getting compromised, that was a really crummy thing to see, because we knew a lot of foreign intel assets were running these Red Sparrow operations against business leaders and government officials. But, instead of that information, whenever that information was taken by the FBI, instead of them dealing with it, they've sort of used it to their own advantage. And that's another issue that's coming from that. So I think the next year is going to be, just the past 2 weeks in January has been insane. The next year, it's going to be one heck of a roller coaster. So with that, it'll be interesting to watch.
Okay. Well, I really want to thank you guys so much for coming on here. And I will give you a call. I will give you a call when I want to make sure that I've got your number saved here a minute. And then I will give you a call.
Sounds
Todd,
good.
after I get off. Thank you guys so much for coming on and for your work that you've done. This is just extraordinary, and we'll have you back on again soon, just so that everybody knows, because I know that there's a lot of people that want to hear what you have to say, and I fully will help you get that message out to the best of my ability. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day today, and you were very gracious with your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope it warms up there soon.
Oh, yeah, and probably not for a week. So we're still going to be mucklocking out there.
Stay warm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you much.
You bet. Well, that was a lot of fun, and I really want to thank those guys for coming on today. It was extraordinary. I'm going to bring Karen the Riveter on here a minute. She's been all kinds of patience back there. Hey, Karen, how you doing?
Good morning, Donna. I thought you were just going to leave me off. That would be okay too.
But you're a good friend. I appreciate that. No, it was such a unexpected direction that this took today. And, sometimes you just got to say, we're just running with this. We're going to keep going as long as we can. And Charlotte said, my gut is telling me things are going to get wicked. My text is blowing up this morning over KK and the meetings. Let's not focus on 2024 Trump's elections. You just called it right there. And I'm thrilled, Charlotte, that you brought this up, because I've been watching this from both sides. Donna Brandenburg's gotten criticized from everyone. I let Chuck Richard talk. I've let and given him a chance. I gave Christina Caramo a chance. I've talked with Warren Carpenter. I've talked with many, many, many people. And of course, they want to divide me up, piece this out, because I've talked to them. So I'm a bad guy to everybody right now. But the point being is that we have to give everyone a chance to talk in order to get to the bottom of this. It's like, stop looking for these cult of personality heroes, get to the bottom and stay focused, right? I think we've got a real problem here. And we've
got a few problems.
we got a few problems, because the distraction that's going on, though, I think it's a good thing to go through those. At this point in time, I'm sitting here looking at this going, until people of the state get their act together and stop following the norm of what they're used to, we're never going to make this work, people. Look at it and then jump off the cults, and let's look at just the realities that are out there, the facts that are out there, and go and run with that. And that's really what we need to do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that impressed me the other day, I shared a post by Praying Medic, and in watching your show today, I kept thinking about it more. The information coming out, like today, and definitely including today, you've posted those screens before on your channel on Telegram, and I had been able to look at them and get an idea. I can wrap my mind around it, but it's complicated. It's really hard for people to see the election fraud for what it is. It takes time. It's taken time for a lot of different experts like him, like those gentlemen, to figure it out and put it on paper in a way that nobody can argue with, because they're just a series of facts. But it's hard for the average American to wrap their mind around it, and it's taken a long time for us to get here. So,
but it's all hidden. It's all hidden. Look at how many shows I've done.
That's my point.
I've done I'm well over 400 shows with like 200 or 2 hours, a piece on average, right? And you look at this, and they brought up websites that I have not even heard of up till today. I never heard of the Enigma Intel. I never heard of them before. And, why is it that somebody who has been out here beating these drums is hard? And I mean, I've talked to people. I've talked to so many people across the United States. It's just crazy. If you saw my contact list, people would be like, you got to be kidding me. It's like and this is the first time talking to somebody such as Todd and Josh. Talked to Jeff before, but I've never talked to these other two guys before today. And all of a sudden, they're bringing pieces of the puzzle together that I've never even heard of these organizations. And This is kind of like, it's kind of a central point here that in somebody who researches nonstop. Why is this been?
That's my point. That's my point right there. So Praying Medic asked a question. Very good question. It prompted more thought on my part. Why is Trump attacking his opponents on the GOP? Vivek, Nikki, not so much Ron anymore. And their poll numbers keep going down, 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 down. They're not really competition. Why is he going after them anyway? Why does he hammer them on his posts and talk about them, mocking them? Because
they're traitors.
The general American public needs to be able to see, unlike 2016 when we thought, it could be close because that's all we saw in media. And then in 2020, we're like, him and Biden, that could be close. So when it happened, a lot of people did not believe that Trump won because they thought, it was a close election. It wasn't. If Trump has no competition whatsoever, even in the GOP, it becomes exceedingly clear to all of America. There is no competition. And if you are going to try to convince us that Biden, a man who is clearly incompetent to even walk across the stage anymore, is going to beat Trump, who is extremely popular in his events and on social media, and we can all see he doesn't even have any competition in the GOP, we're not going to buy it as a whole. There's not going to be anybody left by November who would see the possibility and go, oh, it'll be so clear. You won't need any technical guys to be working on the voter rolls or the electronic reproduction into the media of what had happened and the ballots and so on. None of that would matter. All you need to see is a very big contrast. I call it compare and contrast between Trump and everybody else. I think we're already there in a sense, and that is why we see so many crazy things happening, and I think it's going to get worse because the deep state knows they can't beat Trump in an election process. There is nothing they can do that would convince us that Biden would win.
I got to show you, I've said it from the beginning that I have some real concerns about Vivek. And I want to show this video because this is something that everybody needs to know. This is not letting me share these videos. This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is nuts. Now, why is this not letting me show this? I do not have
an answer.
Well,
it is. You know what you can do? Can you zoom in on the top? Well, we can see the title. That'll work. We can see the title, and it's on your Telegram channel. So everybody at home, take a note, take a screenshot, look at that video on your own. If they can't, if they will not let Donna show it on her Rumble video.
No, they're not letting
that's
me show
not going to stop
on
the rest of us.
Yeah, it's let's see, it's MJ Truth. That's where you have to look for that, is MJ Truth. And I can't believe, maybe I can find it in his Rumble channel. Hang on a minute. It might take me a minute just to scroll through here a minute because.
Can you pull it up via your Telegram channel feed?
Hang on a second. I took his Rumble channel instead of the Telegram channel when I posted it.
Yeah.
So just going to take me a minute here. I like MJ Truth. I think he does a really good job. We just got a few to go through here. Let's see what date we're at right now. Hang on here. I got to get closer to the bottom of his feed. Hang on. Let's go to fast forward here. Because I think this is so significant. It's worthy of showing what's actually happening. Okay, where are we at?
I think everything that we're experiencing, including what you're about to show, is that not just Americans, but globally, we've got to learn how to discern. We've got to learn how to be aware, and then to take a step to stop something that's not appropriate. Because we're lazy, we've been apathetic, we've been unaware, and we haven't practiced principles of self-governance very well at all. And we're learning it the hard way now. So like what's happening in the GOP, I can't tell what is, if you've got two sides claiming to be the rightful GOP, I can't tell from a distance who's who. Who is the lawful one? I don't even know anymore. So is Karamo actually in charge? Is it Melinda Pago is actually in charge? Or is Melinda permanently actually prevented? Is she going to fight it? I don't know. And these are all things that they're going to have to either figure it out or abandon. And I think it may not be even under their control because it's gotten so bad that I think it's going to collapse anyway.
Yeah, it's a very sad thing. I think Melinda did a very brave thing, and the patriots that stood with her I mean, how can you not look at this? And not that I like or dislike anybody, but how can you look at this and give anyone a pass that is, that has this amount of egregious failure? It's like Nikki Haley. How can anybody even seriously consider her whatsoever?
Right.
I mean, it's not even her real name. So that's another thing that we got.
Have you ever tried to get Melinda on your show? That would be kind of an interesting conversation.
I reached out to Melinda to come on BNN. Maybe I did at one point in time. I know Melinda and such, but you know what? I should really do that. Give her a chance. I reached out to Christina. Christina won't come on.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe, I don't know if she would or she wouldn't, but I got to know Melinda. I posted about it the other day because I don't know a lot of the other GOP people, but she's one that I got to know a little bit. And so I see her from Karen's compassionate side. I know her as a human being, a living woman that I've met in person, and I keep saying she went to bat for me and took a risk to do so, and as a constituent. So I appreciate that. I'm willing to listen to what she has to say, because Christina Caramo's got plenty of people talking on her side. She's done interviews. Yes. I haven't seen an interview with Melinda. And I would like to hear directly from Melinda, and if she's willing, if she wants to do so, I'd like to hear directly from her. I've heard from Dan in his own video what he thought was going on a couple weeks ago, but Dan Hartman I'm speaking of. Mm-hmm. But I haven't heard directly from Melinda. And maybe after she has a little bit of time to process what happened this last Saturday, maybe she should be doing an interview.
I think that would be great. So, and there's Christy Clymer is another one that should probably be interviewed, because there's so much going on behind the scenes, and there's so much manipulation going on.
Yeah,
it's just to stay in power. But when I look at what happened within the MIGOP with the removal of of Christina, the evidence is fairly shocking and should be sobering to the entire state. And I do believe that it's a very, how can you put felons in place to handle money? And I mean, I don't even know any corporations out there, as corrupt as they all are, that you could even make the same claims to. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. So hang on a minute. I really want to show this. I'm trying to get through MJ's videos. He posts a lot. Hang on a minute. I want to see. I don't need to see what day I'm up to here. Hang on.
I probably drive people crazy a little bit on my channel because I've been posting a lot lately, spending way too much time on there, but it's so interesting.
Well, I'm going to say this whole Palestinian
so much going on
nonsense with the White House being attacked. I've been really, really clear on this. This is a completely different thing than the J6 for the people that are there. The J6, which they were both Fed setups. There's no two ways about it.
And they only arrested 2 people after they were climbing the fence.
Right. It's nonsense. I mean, how stupid do they think we are? Fed. They're the ones that are guilty. But the point being on this one is that all those people that are standing there are waving a foreign flag. This is absolutely an act of war under a foreign flag by the people that are standing there. Why are they not all of them arrested by this? These are not Americans. They are literally flying a foreign flag, attacking the White House.
Because the White House is foreign land.
Well, there you go. So I mean, I guess there you go. We have problems.
It's all a show. It's all a show.
Yeah, and we know what kind of show that is without me even saying it. Everybody knows. So there we go. I want to show this Vivek thing where he's telling people, he's using fear factor to get people to vote for him. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of videos to go through here. He's using the fear factor to honestly get people to vote for him and say, this is the only way to save President Trump. He's going to be assassinated if you don't vote for me. Give me a break. You know, I'm sitting here watching this nonsense. And right from the beginning, when I started seeing Vivek out there, I was like, he looks like a little Obama. He's a little Obama in training.
Did you see the meme somebody made?
I don't
Oh,
think
man.
But
somebody made a meme where they put him and Obama's faces together.
No, I didn't see that one. I need to see that one. Somebody drop it in my chat somewhere.
If I find it, if I come across it again, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please
It's
do.
really weird.
When you look at how he even talks, he sticks his chin up there and he talks like this. I mean, it's like what did they do? Like, just like put him in Obama training to deliver messages, because he looks exact. You know, the first few minutes I listened to him talk at an event, and I was like 5 feet away from him, 10 feet. Came and he shook my hand and such. And I was like, he started talking. I'm like, wow, this guy's really promising. You know, he's got kind of, and the more he talked, the more I was like, what am I looking at here? Then he got into it about 10 minutes. It took me 10 minutes. And I'm like, yep, there it is. There's the agenda right there. And I was so done. I was absolutely done. I'm like, all right, what's the next group of nonsense he's going to start dropping here? Because it was so scripted. And when he got, when we got into any questions, he couldn't stand on his own. He lost it. No answers, deflected to scripted answers. Like most of these people that are running, it's all of them scripted answers, all of it. And it is beyond shocking. Now I think we're getting close.
He sounded so good. It's like you look at
and he keeps talking like Obama, just like this. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, please spare us all. Please.
It's like a dessert that looks really pretty on the outside, and you're like, that looks so good. And then you take a bite, and you're like, what flavor is this inside?
Here. So here we go. We've got little Vivek video starting. Oh, here it is. There it is. That's the one that I want to bring up here, right here.
They're scared of Trump. They are scared. And they will stop at nothing, but we're not going to let them get away with it. I've got fresh legs. I'm not wounded. They're not going to let this man do it. You know, when you said eliminate, that gave me a chill. Because I'm scared. Because you think it's false, or because you think it's
this woman is afraid.
I think they will stop at nothing to stop them. Stop Trump. It's sad, but it's the truth. It's the sad, but it's the truth. So I'm asking you to do your part, and we're going to. You know, we can do this. We can do this. They say, "How do you feel about the United States?" And I say, "I'm worried and I'm fearful."
There's your problem.
Yep, right there.
Might have that. You don't have to feel it.
No fear.
But we're losing it. We're losing it. It pains me to hear that. We need people like you, young, vibrant, and that's where our founding fathers were. Yes. It's 1776 moments.
Let's put all the talking points out.
Yeah, exactly.
I get emotional. I'm emotional.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh, it's okay.
Let me hold you, Grandma.
Okay, now wait, listen.
It's about this country. You want to save Trump, you vote for me. I'm telling you that. You vote for Trump. You're sending him to his own demise.
Sending him to his own demise.
Oh, it's like this is like the state.
Hang on. Listen to him, because people need to hear exactly what he said. He said it right there. He said, "You want to save Trump? Vote for me." Listen.
Yeah.
You know, it's about this country. It's about this country. You want to save Trump? You vote for me. I'm telling you that. You vote for Trump.
Yeah, screw you, Vivek, with that right there.
You're falling into the trap that not only a country's falling in, that he's falling. You want to save Trump, you vote for me. I need your support at the Iowa caucus. That's a good argument. It's not an argument, it's the truth.
Now with this video too, it's odd, and I'll tell you why. What I noticed from this right away.
I will consider. Thank you. That's the first time I've ever said that, by the way. Because the others. No, forget that. But that's the truth, and I think you know it. This is yes. This is the truth, and what I just told you, I think you know that in your heart to be true. Do the right thing on Monday. That's what I'm asking you for.
The right thing.
That is so much a psyop right there. I can't even put that into words. And I think there's another one here that was. Oh, there it is. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
If you want to save Trump, vote for me. If you vote for Trump, you're sending him own demise. So let's just say, take something that we love. This is almost satanic. Take something that we love and try to drive our behavior to something else. Well, you know what? All of you deep state pieces of crap out there, there's no fear going on here. We're not going to vote out of fear. We're going to vote our conscience.
Right.
People manipulate.
Vote because somebody might die. If you don't vote the right way.
Karen, he has been at risk from day one. Situation normal. Why is all of a sudden there's more risk right now than the man's been in for the last how many years? Are you kidding me? They've been trying to kill him from day one. And you know what? He just keeps going, which tells me that somebody is protecting him. He has protection around him. And I'm pretty extra sure that he's got all sorts of people that are protecting him, or he would have already been taken out. There's no greater threat today than there was before this. Probably less threat, because you know what? These deep state pieces of crap out there, they know that the American public right now is sick of their crap. And if something ever happened to President Trump, the gloves would be off. The gloves would be so off. And it wouldn't take too long for people like myself or yourself to start drilling, or the guys that were talking at the elections, to drill down and start connecting the dots to all of these people. And it's every single one of them sitting in the seats.
Yeah, when I was watching that video, I was thinking of that scene from Jungle Book where the snake is speaking and the little kid's eyes are going, the little swirlies inside. Mm-hmm. Somebody needs to take that video and intersperse those images.
Yes, and then
he's like, let me just tell you what you need to believe. Yes, and maybe that's why Trump was reading the snake story again the other night.
Little snaky tongue coming out, tickling our ears here. But yeah, it's like that. That was my first impression of him. Was it's Obama. This is a reincarnation of Obama. This is a younger Obama at this point, with his little chin up and talking to the ceiling like this in a very convincing way, with his little poetic pauses in what he's saying. So he truly understands the way you feel. No, you don't. I'm pissed off. I'm not afraid. I'm pissed. I'm not wanting somebody to sympathize with me.
I'm not voting out of fear either, Donna. There is no fear. That is not how we vote. Come on, America.
And then it's like, Charlotte brought something up too. It's kind of interesting. His BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard cartels bought his stock, so he runs for president, and Vivek kept 3% of his stock. It's up $3,005 billion. Great. Let's see. Great for Vivek. No way, guys. Yeah. I listened to something the other day, or I was reading something the other day on how much he gained in a failing company. He had a failing company. There was no go going on there. And all of a sudden he gets this huge payoff and he runs for office, just like with a very presidential presence, right? Follow the money and the connections, not buying it, gone. You just didn't make the Brandenburg
standard.
Yeah, you failed the standard right there. And you can crawl back to the little World Economic Forum cronies that put them up 2 years before, something like that, for the young, young leaders. That's what we got going on here. Oh, this is interesting. Let's check this out. Egypt's border with Palestine. Americans border with Mexico. I don't see them negotiating much. All of our guys. It's like, are you kidding me? Let's just let them in, guys. In fact,
Oh, so did you hear what happened yesterday?
Oh no, don't come through. Don't come through. We're going to stand here with our little pathetic shields, and then we're going to grab your hands and pull you through when you're stuck. Oh no, look at this horrible.
I think the biggest story last week with regards to the border was Texas. So Texas has got this
positive thing.
Yeah, and then yesterday what happened was a woman and her 2 kids drowned in the river is the story. And the Border Patrol is like, we could have helped them, but Texas wouldn't let us through.
Yeah, so now the blame game with anybody doing anything.
Well, I'm sorry, but you know what? If anybody needs to blame anybody, we need to be blaming Mexico for letting them in the river to begin with. Because Mexico knows that when they get it over onto the Michigan, the Texas side, there's no way they can cross that razor wire. They're going to drown if you let them in the river, Mexico. Are you going to let your people or your immigrants go in the river? Because they're not likely to be drowning on the American side if they can't get through the razor wire. So there's some things that we're not hearing the whole story, but Border Patrol has got to come up with an excuse to blame Texas for, and then let America say, oh, it's all Texas's fault. And the mayor is saying, I didn't approve of this. This wasn't our idea. No, Texas has its own rights. I think this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court because they have every right to defend their people.
You bet they. Well, it's their duty. It's not their right. It's their obligation. So I'm going to read something else that Vivek posted. Yes, I saw. You're going to do it with the chin up. Yes, I saw President Trump Truth Social post. It is an unfortunate move by his campaign advisors. I don't think friendly fire is helpful. Donald Trump was the greatest president of the 21st century, and I'm not going to criticize him in response to this late attack. I've met tens of thousands of Iowans across 390 events here, and they are deeply worried, and so am I. This system won't allow Donald J. Trump anywhere near the White House again. It seems they will stop at nothing to keep him away from power. I'm worried for Trump, President Trump, the rightful president of the United States. I'm worried for our country. I've stood up against persecution against Trump, and I've defended him at every step. I showed up at the Miami courthouse in solidarity following his first federal indictment. I filed a FOIA demanding to the Biden DOJ. I submitted an amicus brief this week with the U.S. Supreme Court calling on them to overturn Colorado's ruling. I pledged to remove myself from Maine's and Colorado's primary ballots if they remove Trump, calling on DeSantis and Haley to do the same thing. But we have to open our eyes. Tragedy starts here in the narrative. Just as a side note.
You need a little violin music in the background.
Here it goes. But we have to open our eyes. Last time it was a man-made pandemic and big tech election interference. Now, the same billionaires funding the lawsuits against Trump are the ones trying to prop up Nikki Haley. The same MSM blasting Trump is lavishing praise on Nikki. They what has this got to do with anything? They want to narrow this to a 2-horse race between Trump and Haley, eliminate Trump one way or the other, and trot their puppet into the White House. We can't fall for this trap. 1 year
He's
from
trying
now,
to build contrast where there isn't any.
right. There is no contrast. Like Nikki Haley, no, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 100 thumbs down. Okay. From Donna Brandenburg opinion poll. We can't fall for this trap. 1 year from now, we won't look back and say we were shocked that it happened. We'll kick ourselves for not stopping it. Our movement must live on. America first didn't start in 2016. It started in 1976. We owe it to our founding fathers to do the right thing for our country. I want to save Trump and to save this country. Let's do it together. You won't hear any friendly fire from me. No, he just uses the pity card to say, and the fear card, don't vote for President Trump. Vote for me. I am your new savior.
It's it's not a bad strategy compared to what DeSantis did. DeSantis was like, I'll go ahead and attack Trump, but I'll try to be careful doing it. Well, that doesn't go very well. You can't attack Trump. So Vivek's going swinging wild the other way, saying Trump is the best, but. And what else can he do then to say Trump is the best, but I want you to vote for me? Well, why should I vote for you? Well, because Trump might get assassinated, and then I'm your next go-to. So you might as well vote for me right now.
Can I just make an observation here? If he cared about President Trump so much, why isn't he going to bat for writing the 2020 fake, fraudulent, stolen, maladministration, failed election? Why is he saying nothing about this? We're just going to move on. I'm going to step in and I will take care of you. Really?
That's exactly what he was doing in that video.
$10 million payoff from selling your failed country or company.
I'll give you a hug and make you feel better and take all your fears away.
Yeah, and
right.
We're just gonna go. I'm out. Okay, I'm out on Vivek. Decisively out. Would I see that kind of nonsense? Sorry. I may have taken some stupid pills, but I haven't taken all of them, and you'd have to take all of the stupid pills to make that one work. So,
did you see there was a timeline that somebody did? You have to click on. It's like that last one. It's really tall, but it goes over Biden's new year from January 1st to now, and what he's been doing. Well, he did an angry speech here, and then he took 2 days on vacation, and he did an angry speech there, and he took 3 days on vacation. And at the same time that this was happening, Jill goes to an interview and says, I don't think people realize what a hard worker Joe is. And then his presser says the same thing. Joe is a hard worker on the same day. And I'm like, what kind of narrative is this? Because we all know he's not. What is he working hard at? Oh, he was working hard writing a letter to Congress about how he did this thing that was completely unconstitutional by attacking an overseas nation. And what's he doing, sending the Navy SEALs into some kind of anything over there? What, are we at war with some other country that we have to have some Navy SEALs doing an operation that causes them to be killed? What are you telling us that you're not telling us everything that you're doing militarily, and that you're taking actions that require Congress?
Well,
he's working so hard.
Yeah, working so hard at I don't even know. Here's a good post by MJ. It's got all kinds of links in there. Save the children for our sanity. Tucker Carlson, Vivek. He says for Vivek, Trump became part of the establishment. Want to save Trump? Vote for me. I'm so done. I actually like his little post here. That I think I'll take and I'll put that on my channel because I like that. You can go look at what I'm talking about here. Here, let's see if I can post this in a minute. There you go. Go to Brandenburg the number 4 MI on Telegram, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about here. And I just grabbed it and reposted it from MJ. And look at his channel. MJ Truth is I love that. I think it's a guy. I don't know. Maybe it's a gal. I'll just say it's a guy because guys are is the gender neutral term in Michigan. We're freezing our tails off out here right now. See, Karen's a guy to me. Hey, guy. I got a guy. I got a guy that does this. It's like, I got a guy that does summaries of things.
Sometimes. I did one the other day. I call it a summary, but I don't remember now what it was.
Oh.
I can't keep up. Well, I know what I did. This was good. I don't know if you saw this, but a couple days ago, I was realizing how many different things we're supposed to be afraid of coming out.
Can we make a list?
I did.
You did. Where's your
I
list?
did. It was the day that we had your show. I
I've
think it was the last day we did a show together.
Okay.
And the day I think it was Thursday.
Okay.
And so I had shared something that I found on Facebook about dog food. There's a dog food issue similar to chicken food. Okay. So that's the first one that I posted. Anything that I had come across that I posted myself or that I shared from somewhere else that was about things that we should fear, I ended up writing a list, and I came up with 27 things just for that day. So there's a lot more going around that didn't really cross my feed. So it was particular to what I noticed in the day and felt privy to share with. 27 different things. That some of it was, there was something that you discussed on the show, and I'm like, well, that was relevant. That's actually something we should be concerned about. But there are a lot of other things that we really shouldn't be concerned about, and none of it we're really supposed to fear. So at the end of the long list, they talked about how if we trust in God, there's no reason to fear all this. And that's how I can do what I do when I'm watching what's going on around the world and sharing that stuff and not take it in and all that. If you see that kind of negativity on a daily basis and it concerns you, you're filled with nothing but negativity. Well, I'm sitting here back at home laughing.
Yeah, and doing
I found something the other day. I laughed so hard I showed my husband and to show him how funny it was. He doesn't care about any of this stuff, but I'm laughing every day because I'm not fearful.
So I got to show you what I made this week. This is
blueberry jam.
Today. There's
I can't read it.
It just says "Made with Love." I haven't put the title on it yet. Homemade with love. So these are the things you can do when you're afraid. Do something. Don't sit there and listen to this and nonsense. I added an extra cup of fruit into this and didn't increase my sugar gel. So it didn't, actually I'm using like a ball pectin. And so, but it's not as set as it normally is, but I think it's going to be okay. So my bad. I know how to do jam. The last batch of jam was fine. And I've done it my whole life, but I thought,
We'd be jamming.
I was jamming. And then here's another thing. This is from my dehydrator, my freeze dryer. And this little beauty right here, I'll show you how big it is, has got 18 eggs in this with a 25-year shelf life that I've been processing. So today is onions and mushrooms day. I have Skittles for several of my friends out there that have asked me for Skittles, including yourself, and that are purchased. I've got avocados and spinach and all these things, plus more eggs. And honestly, I think we're going to be laying more eggs here. Our chickens are, because we've got heat lamps in the coops. So that means that they're under light, which will stimulate horses and chickens' cycle for productivity is encouraged by more light. So like if you want a horse to go into a heat cycle, you give them 16 hours of light a day, and it psychs their brain out so that they go, they if you want to have a baby, that's what you do. So with chickens, you increase the light hours of the day by artificial means, and they will lay around the clock. Now we don't normally lay around the calendar. We don't do that because we give our chickens time to rest. But right now, because we need to have the extra heat in the coops, we've got lights in there. So I expect I'm going to have a lot of eggs coming up here. So down in Brandenburg is going to be in full-time freeze drying production here for a while. So, which I think is a really good thing. You don't have to be afraid. Go into action and do something. That's the answer all the time. Don't sit there and spin do on the little fear hamster wheel. Get off the hamster wheel. Go do something, and ignore the rest of it.
Reading scripture can help too. Like a good example would be Paul, because Paul was he was whipped, he was tortured, he was beaten, he was in chains, he was on shipwrecks. I don't know how many times, and he talks about joy, like all the things that he goes through, and he's in the prison singing, like all these things. And if you need some inspiration, there's all kinds of stories in the Bible about people that overcame because they were not afraid, because they trusted in God.
Well, and also if you're a true believer, you have a reality that is different than what we normally would think of as being taught, right? The things that are seen are made out of the things that are unseen. That means that we're not a body, we're a spirit indwelling in a body. I believe in the multidimensional universe. I really do. Because in some form, however you want to term it, almost every one of these theories are explaining the same thing. Really, they really are. Look at Jesus. He could walk through walls. He could walk into the physical presence and walk out of it at any point in time that he wanted to. And there's actually kind of an interesting way to explain this. There's a book called Flatland, and it talks about about characters living on a 2D plane. Okay, I'm going to try to explain this to everybody. Let me see if I can grab something for. I'll grab a jelly jar for that minute. Anyhow, you'll have. I should have a piece of paper for this to have it be truly a two-dimensional. Let me see if I've got one here a minute. Okay, I've got an envelope. Hang on. So we're going to use this envelope here as a two-dimensional plane, okay? So let's just say that we, in a third-dimensional plane, live on something that looks like this. It's limited. But what if there's another plane? So let's just say this other plane. Let me get it over here so I can see it. Everything's backwards on the camera here. So we've got our 2D plane or our 3D plane that we live on. But there's a fourth dimension out here, which is the spiritual plane, right? And what happens when that spiritual plane intersects that 2D plane? You've got a point. And let's just say it's a sphere or a jelly jar. So now the 2D plane sees it as a one-dimensional point. Well, what happens if that passes through this? Your shape of what you're seeing changes dramatically as this passes through and you're back to one point again. Well, if you've got a 3-dimension with a fourth dimension, which is a spiritual dimension, you could be sitting right here and have all kinds of things that are sitting right next to you. However, there's also another dynamic. Let me put the other dynamic in here that could be really interesting. If you have, let's just say we pass something that's not a sphere, but has like a glass or something that has some contour to it, or a hand. What happens if a hand passes through this at different points? You've got something that could look very different of an entity passing through this with different points that are, it's the same entity, but all you're seeing is different points on the dimension at that one point in time. Does that make sense to you? Or did I completely?
Yeah.
What if you have here? Let me grab something a minute. I'm going to do another explanation or something else that could make a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm going to use, say, like, these are really cool. I bought this at Costco. I bought these little desserts, and they came with these little dessert cups, which I think are just adorable. You could use them as like micro wine glasses, or you could use anything like that. So let's just say you've got a glass like this, and here's your plane. Now when it touches it, you're touching 2 points.
Yeah.
You may not even realize that those points are connected as it passes through the plane. So this passes through the plane. Look at how the shape changes as it passes through the plane. That's great. And you may not even see that it's connected until one point, and then it's unconnected again. This gets into all kinds of crazy, physics type thing, which and different theories, like, when you have string theory and all that sort of thing, which I absolutely enjoy looking at. I like looking at everything.
I do not.
I love it. I love looking at all this thing because I want to understand how the world works, right? And on every level. But when you look at our physicality from a spiritual standpoint, we are not this body. And when you get your arms around that, is that we are a spiritual being, different dimension, if you want to call it that, or whatever you want to call it. But we are a spiritual being inhabiting a three-dimensional body. And so when we look at that, whether the body lives or dies, it's not going to make any difference to me, because I know that, that God is here all the time. And when you're connected to God in a spiritual way, it becomes less important. You will live for God, know you're connected to him. I mean, there's no question when you're a believer, there's no question that you're not connected to God. Now that grows as you mature, and as you understand, and you start talking to God, things start becoming pretty clear. You don't just sit there and sit in your own little space. You go start talking to God, and he's gonna tell you exactly what's going on, and you don't feel lost. I think that's the, I don't know if I'm going to be able to share this, but I'm going to go ahead and put that soak stream on, and we're going to listen to some scripture and listen to what God says, not what people say about God. You listen to what God himself says, and then all of a sudden it starts to become clearer on really the reality that's around us. I think it's important. Let's see if it'll let me add. I don't want to read about the Bible. I don't like to listen to people's commentary, though I will, but my whole thing is to actually go listen to scripture or read your Bible. That's where you're gonna really connect. So I bet
this marks the potential start of a third world war, and we will soon be.
That doesn't sound like the Bible.
No, that's not President Trump. It's somebody faking him out. So let's see if I can share the video
that sounds
here.
Like it.
Yeah, that's so extreme. It's a good thing to end on right now. You are a spiritual being inhabiting a physical body. Oh yeah, now it's showing. Look, as long as we're talking about elections, we're good to go.
Light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?
No one.
The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?
No one.
Joshua 24, verse 15. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Proverbs 24, 3-4. By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. Psalm 34, 7-8. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Matthew 7:24. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock.
It's a great spot to stop. And what is the rock? Jesus Christ, the rock of our salvation. And, when you look at what Jesus did to clear that, take the veil down, to tear the veil in two, so that we can go directly to God and be connected to him. Once that really happens, and you are connected to the Holy Spirit through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, it is finished, and you can walk with God on this earth. You don't have to be lost, and your refuge is in God, and then the fear is not there, because you're so connected spiritually that it almost feels like this is the unreal world and the spirit world is more real. That's how it is for me. It's like I would rather have the connection to the spiritual world, and I just do work in the physical world. That's the difference for me. And to find all the people that are lost, and if you really turn the TV off and all that nonsense, if you turn off a lot of the electronic media, I'm concerned about. There's a place in the Bible where it talks about the windows and the windows into our homes. And I really believe it's in reference to the end times. I don't have the verse on the top of my tongue right now. I can look it up. But the point being is that, doesn't that kind of make sense that it's kind of odd that windows is such a primary way to get in? Now, I don't want to get into conspiracies or anything like that, but or try to predict what the Bible says. But we've got to close down some of these ways that they're programming us, that they're telling us how to think, and just go to God and sit quietly. If you get rid of the distractions, you can hear him and start honestly communicating with him. And it's kind of an awesome, amazing thing. The Holy Spirit will talk to you. You just have to go to God, and the one that made the way for you to go to God is Jesus Christ. And it's significant. And I think that if we don't talk about that, the fact that our primary mission here is to serve God's world. It's to help the lost sheep. My entire life, that's what I've always heard from God, is find my lost lambs. I'm on it. So, and that's why we're here every day. Writing This Nation writes that relationship, helps people write that relationship with God, so that they truly can walk away from the sin and the evil in this world and be saved. So there we go. That's the message right there. When you see everything that's wrong with the world, what is it? It's because this nation has walked away from God. The world is walking away from God. This is his sandbox. You don't have the right to do whatever you want. He laid the rules down, and those rules were not to be mean. It was because he created this world. He created the rules. It's his place. And if we want to stay safe, he's given us the choice to walk ourselves right straight to hell, or to live with him forever in heaven. He gave us that choice. And he's given us that choice to make choices in our lives. And some choices we make lead to our own destruction. He's given us that ability to make those choices, hoping that we make the right choice and follow his rules. Because when you follow God's rules, you protect your family, you do the things that he tells us to do. He's our guide to make it through all of these traps that only lead to our destruction. If we're rebelling against God, we're dumb, because we're working for our own demise. And if you see everything that's wrong in the world, it can be reversed real quick if people start just following the rules. And his rules are pretty simple. Treat people the way we want to be treated, and lay down our lives and put each other first, and not base our entire existence on money, on what we can get. It's pretty simple, but you've got to be open to listening to him. Don't listen to me. Go listen to what he has to say. Don't listen to a word anybody tells you. Figure it out for yourself. But you're going to have to go and read his word and listen to him and pray and get some alone time. Shut the nonsense off for a little while. Shut off the distractions and be quiet, and you'll hear that still small voice. It's pretty simple. And then all of a sudden things change around. So with that said, how about we do a prayer? I've been on a long time today. You have too, because you've been sitting in the back, and I thank you for your grace and your friendship. Karen is a great person. Everybody go to her channel, because both of us are watching our channel. The numbers of our channels, they just keep going down. They'll go up a little bit, and then boom, they drop off, and it's almost funny. So I don't even know how many people are actually watching out there, but I do know, I can tell you that all the numbers, not just the election numbers, all of it's being manipulated. You can't believe any of it. That's why I keep going. I'm just like, I'm not believing any of this.
Yeah.
God told me to keep going, and I'm going to keep going.
No idea how many people actually follow my channel.
I get a lot of people telling me, "Oh, I'm watching you. It's like, that's great. I'm going to continue to be here no matter what the numbers say, because the numbers don't matter at this point in time, because it's all being manipulated, all of it. And you know what? It may be manipulated like this, by an entity bisecting a plane just like this, and we can't even see that. It's all one entity, because I think that's what we've got going on here, guys. But that's just me. So anyhow, let's say a prayer here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very, very much for the unbelievably honest, wonderful patriots that are fighting, like the gentleman that we had today, fighting for election integrity. I am so blessed by Josh, Todd, and Jeff, and Jason Ickes, and all those people who are fighting nonstop for election integrity and for honest and fair elections. It's extraordinary how you've put everyone in each other's paths in such an era of censorship. It's incredible, which tells me you're still in control. You can do all things, and we believe in you. We have faith in you. No matter what we see on the outside, doesn't matter. We know you're in control. Your sandbox, your rules, and your plan, and you're going to bring this around to an incredible conclusion. And we're excited for that. And we thank you for giving us an ability to be here now, for choosing us to be here now, for giving us jobs to do, to help us stretch our wings a little bit, to learn what it means to stand for truth and righteousness. We're all going to make mistakes along the way. None of us are perfect. The only one that was perfect was our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and he didn't throw a stone. But he did look at truth, and he did call out those people that deserve to be called out, the den of vipers. We got a huge den of vipers around us right now, and we're going to continue to call them out. And hopefully your lambs will be drawn forward into your presence. We invite anyone out there who is lost to call on the name of Jesus Christ and to acknowledge him and the fact that he paid the penalty for any sin that you've ever committed or ever will commit. If you turn your heart to him and repent and leave those things, and we're going to continue to fall. It's not, transformations are rarely instantaneous. Sometimes it's a long walk, and we learn a lot by going through that walk. But God will not forsake you or abandon anyone out there. We know that you won't, God. We know that you're with us. We know that you're walking with us every step of the way. And we will turn to you in all circumstances and accept your gift of salvation, your Son, your precious only begotten Son. Thank you so much for renting that veil in two, that we can go directly to you and not be ashamed. And we look forward to that day that we get to look full on in your beautiful face. And that's going to be a glorious day. And in the meantime, we're here doing your work. Happy to be doing it. You tell us what to do, and we're willing to do anything you ask us to do, because we have no fear, because you're walking with us. Whatever you ask us to do, doesn't matter here or on the other side. It's a glorious thing to be in your presence at all times. And thank you for being such a great friend to us. We want to be an awesome friend to you. We love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So there we go. Bring friends, bring friends to this party. It's an eternal party. It's not one full of fear as we wear our little sweaters here. That's what it amounts to. There's going to be a day we're all going to meet on the other side, hopefully. hopefully make a good choice. He gives that choice to everyone, and whether we're going to follow him or we're going to walk away, it's your choice. And those things that are not from God will always lead to destruction. But he's always willing to have you come back. Just ask for forgiveness and come back, and then don't do it again. There's a few things you can't just sin and say, God will forgive me anyway. I'm just going to do this. I don't think he's going to be happy with that choice. So, but I'm just going to say that right out there. You got to make a choice, and your faith without works is dead. Doesn't so you have to make those changes and not just continue to go on. So that is an important part of it. So and strive to do so. Doesn't mean you're not going to fall down. We all do. But get back up, do your best, and God will be right there to put you back on your feet again and say, come on, best cheerleader in the world is God. Come on, I believe in you. You can do this. Get up and do it again. We're going to walk through this together. And he knows, he understands the struggles that we have. So it's not something to be afraid of. Embrace him. He's a good and faithful Father, and he believes in you. He created you. He wants nothing more than to have an eternal relationship with you, and to just because he loves you. You're his child. So with that said, everybody make good decisions today. It starts here and here. So we're gonna go forward and have a great day today, and even in the sub-zero weather we have out here. Bundle up. You can bundle up spiritually by wrapping yourself in those scriptures and pray, and you'll make it through anything. Get close to God. So with that said, I'm the only one with hands today. Once again, God bless you. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. God's got this. It's God's plan. He's got this. He knows what he's doing. And we'll see you tomorrow. And reach out if you need to. If you feel lost, go ahead and reach out. I put the ability to contact me out there many, many times. So you can find me pretty easily if you get on my Telegram channel. I have a lot of people reaching out to me at Brandenburg 4MI. And you can DM me. I'll answer you back. I don't DM people just out of the blue. If I do, I'll say it in my open channel. I'll say, hey, I'm going to send you a DM if I reach out to you, but you can reach out to me and I will respond.
Yeah, you DM'd me yesterday, but it wasn't you.
No, there's a
I
lot
know it wasn't you because you've never DM'd me, so I delete, block, spam.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake Donna Brandenburgs out there that like to DM people. If I DM you, I will clearly say that in the open channel, and it'll be in a response to something that you've said. I don't just go out and randomly DM people. That's not what I do.
The same is true with me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you can DM me and I'll answer. So yeah. No matter who you are, even if you're a fake person, I'll even respond to you and get it figured out. So have a great day, guys. God bless y'all.